everyone. Welcome back to our lesson on TestNG. So today we will be diving into some hands-on TestNG. All right. Let me quickly share the screen. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Perfect, right? Awesome. I see thumbs up, right? Great. Awesome. Just confirm that you can see my Eclipse as well. This is the Eclipse because I've shared the entire screen. So I want to just confirm that you can see both the screens and not just that, right? Okay, Binu says yes, right? Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Okay. So last time what we did, we stopped at installing Eclipse and we installed TestNG in Eclipse. If you're not sure, we went to the help and we went to Marketplace, Eclipse Marketplace, and then we looked up TestNG, we installed that along with Eclipse. All right. Okay, if anyone does not have that, you should look at the instructions in our previous lesson towards the end, and you can do the installation accordingly. All right. So today we will actually do a hands-on TestNG. We will try to make some scripts. We'll try to write TestNG scripts. And before that, a quick revision, right? Quick revision. Tell me, let me see how much do you all remember. Tell me about annotations. Name any two annotations that you remember from last lecture, right? Any two annotations. Valentina says it takes ages to open Eclipse, right? Yeah, Valentina, that's why most Eclipse is popular, right? It's Binu says before class, right? Yes, before class is there, right? Susan says before and after, right? Perfect. Susan, before and after what, right? Before and after just are not the annotations, right? Before something and after something, right? Those are the annotations, right? Susan says method and class, right? Yeah, perfect. So before method, after method, right? Before class, after class, those are annotations, right? So perfect, perfect. Well done. Binu says before suit, right? Excellent, excellent, right? Valentina says method, suit, class. Valentina, yeah, but those are before method or after method, before suit, after suit, and before class, after class. Those are the annotations. All right. So perfect, right? Perfect. Good to see that you all remember and it's clear. Great. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Okay. So today we will do just follow along with me, right? So I want you all to open your Eclipse because we're doing hands-on, right? So I want you all to follow along, right? It's not like I'll show you the theory and you do it later on. No, right? We'll do hands-on simultaneously. All right. So I will open my Eclipse, right? My Eclipse is open here. Make sure you also have your Eclipse open in front of you. And in case you could not install Eclipse or for some issues, you also have the virtual machine here, right? In the lesson, I have just hit this, but you can see this. You have the virtual machine where you have Eclipse pre-installed, right? With TestNG and everything. So you can use that also. But I would highly recommend following along with this lecture, right? So that is going to help you. All right, Valentina says open and ready, right? Perfect. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Okay. So first thing you do is you click on file, right? You click on file and you click on new and you click on project. Okay. Because you want to create a new project. Okay. Everything that you see here on the left hand side, these are different projects. Okay. So you click on file, you click on new, you click on project. All right. And in the wizard that opens up, can you see this wizard that has opened up? Is this dialog box visible? Just give me a thumbs up if the dialog works. Yes, right? Valentina says yes. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. In this, you need to choose. See, these are the builds, right? These are the builds. Gradle, Maven you have. And we had decided we will use Maven. Okay. So you click on Maven. Okay. Click on the drop down and click on Maven project. Okay. You want to choose a Maven project. Okay. For some cases, if you have already done it, you might have a shortcut here, file, new project. And over there itself, it will show you Maven project. That is a shortcut, right? So you can use that also. Okay. In case not, you have this wizard, click on Maven, open the drop down, click on Maven project and click on next. Okay. And then we'll come to the next wizard. Susan says, looks different here, right? Yeah, it might be, right? It might be based on the versions, right? Based on Eclipse versions. So Susan, you can directly click on Maven project, right? So you can directly click on Maven project that you see below Java project, the Maven project that you see, you can directly click on that. Okay. So that is also a Maven project. All right. Right, Susan says got it, right? Awesome. Okay, so it should take you to the same dialog box, right? It'll take you to the same dialog box, and in this dialog box, make sure you tick on this create a simple project, skip archetype selection. Okay, you want to skip the archetype selection. Okay, What is archetype? I'll just quickly give you a brief, right? Archetype is basically some templates, right? So let's say you're making a website. Do you want to start a website from scratch, or do you want to use a previously built template with some HTML, CSS files, or some work that has already been done, and you want to edit that? Okay, some templates are there. We don't want to do that. We don't want to use any templates. We want to create a simple project. Okay, so therefore you choose skip archetype selection, right? Make sure you choose this. All right. Once you click on this, click next. Okay, and then you will get a wizard with two fields that you need to fill: group ID and artifact ID. All right, in group ID you can mention, let's say, com.example dot my test. Okay, so you can say my test. All right, so this is actually, what is a group ID? See, a group ID is basically for, let's say we are working on a project, right? We are working on a project, so one group ID is for a specific project, right? So you have that for a specific segment, right? So like it's a group, so whatever test cases I'll create, that's for that group. Okay, inside that, within that group, you can have different artifacts. Different artifacts would be focusing on different aspects of the website, right? So for that, you can have different artifacts. Right. For example, here we can choose the artifact as, let's say I choose the artifact as let's say seventh demo, right? Seventh test demo. All right. Okay. So artifact ID you can choose as anything. Okay. It's basically just a name given to the test cases that you'll be creating. Okay. So it's like imagine the group ID as a folder, and inside that you have subfolders, right? So one artifact ID is for one particular folder, right? Inside that you'll have your test cases. Okay. So once you add these, right? Once you add these, click on finish, and you should see a seventh test demo something here, right? Look at this, this file that you can see, it's actually a folder, right? So seventh test demo, right? So this is your project. Okay, this is your project. All right, and if you just click on the drop down on this, you will see some folders inside it. Okay, let me close this. So you see you'll have some folders inside it. Okay, so give me a thumbs up if you have reached at this stage, if you were able to create the project. This is how you've created the first project, right? So your project right now, it's blank, but you've created the project. Okay, we'll write the test cases, but right now it's blank, but the project has been created. All right, Theodora gives a thumbs up, Valentina gives a thumbs up, Ines gives a thumbs up, Jixing gives a thumbs up, right? Awesome, awesome, right? Perfect, perfect. All right. Okay, so now Valentina says, I would like to ask about this com.example and the artifact ID. Sure, sure, Valentina, right? Yeah. See, com.example is for basically, let's say I am working on a specific project, right? Let's say a client has come to me, right? And I want to, let's say they have 5 different websites, right? The client has 5 different websites, and they want software testing to be done on 5 different websites, right? So I will create one group ID for one website, right? So that is specific for that. Okay. Now inside that, in that website, right? So that is for website number one. Inside that website, I can target different domains. Let's say I'm trying to do API testing. I'm trying to test their login functionality, or I'm trying to test their, let's say, checkout functionality, right? So I can create different artifacts. Now inside those artifacts, let's say artifact one, right? That is for, let's say, the checkout process. Okay, that is artifact one. The test cases that I write inside that artifact will be only focused on the checkout process. Okay, artifact 2 might be for the login functionality. The test cases that I'll write inside that will only be targeted towards the login functionality. Okay, so does that make sense? When you say, so are the URI? No, 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 no. They're not URIs, right? They're not URIs. The name could be anything, right? It's a general convention to take com.example dot, let's say, your company name. Okay, so it's a general convention, but that name can be anything, right? The group ID name can be anything. Okay, it's not mandatory for you to have that com.example, but generally you'll see like that, right? Com.example, you'll see that in many places as a convention. Okay, so when it is, so like rename a folder, right? Yes, yes, kind of, right? Yeah, kind of, Valentina. So yeah, yeah, it's like a folder, not rename, but it's your folder, right? It's your folder, and inside that you can have multiple folders, right? So one is your parent folder with your project, and inside that you can have subfolders. Okay, so one artifact ID, second artifact ID, third artifact, so on and so forth. All right, Valentina says thanks, right? Awesome, awesome, perfect. All right. Okay, so this is your project, right? This is the project you've created. Now I want you to focus on the folders that are there inside this. So see, the first folder is what? src/main/java. Okay, it's a folder. And anyway, you see this arrow, that means it's a folder, right? You can click, and you can unclick it. It's like a drop down, right? It'll open up, okay, with the files inside this. Okay, it's a folder. All right. So src slash main Java is for what? It's for the main Java files for that particular application, right? So for the application or website or whatever is the project, the main Java files that the developers will write. Okay. So this is the place where developers will write their Java code and they will place their code here. Okay. The second folder is what? Src slash main slash resources. Okay. So these are the resources. What are the resources? Resources could be, let's say, images. Okay. It could be, let's say, some videos, okay, or anything else that the developers need for the Java files over here. So in this folder they will write the Java files and any resources they need for the Java file, right? They might need some images, videos, right? Whatever they need, that is inside the resources. Okay, that's kept inside the resources. Okay, you don't have to use this, I'm just telling you for your information. All right, now look at the third one, right? This is src slash test slash Java. Okay, this is the place where, this is the folder where we write our test cases. So the software testers write the test cases here inside this folder. All right. And the software testers, they might need some external resources. That is this folder, src slash test slash resources. Okay. That is this folder for any extra resources that you might need. All right. So right now we'll be focusing on this third folder, that is src slash test slash Java, in which we will write our test cases. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Let me look at the live chat. Valentina says folders are alive. They changed while you were talking. Which folder? Which folder changed, Valentina? Vinu gives a thumbs up, right? Great. Others give a thumbs up, right? If you have understood so far, what are these four folders for? Okay, see, this is the essence of the application, right? So these are the four folders. You should be clear with it, right? It should not be that you are just focusing on one folder and you don't know what the other folders are for. Because when you're working in a team, right, there are developers also. So you should know what they are doing and where they are putting their files, right? You should know that. Okay, and it's all of them, right? Since creation, while you spoke, they changed name, icon, etc. No, I don't think so. I don't think so, right? Valentina, it will not change. It will not change. You can try with a new project. Okay. I don't think it'll change. Ines says, does SRC mean something or we should not care about that now? SRC is basically the source, right? It's the short form of source. So that's your source code. Okay. So this is actually the structure, right? So there's a folder is source. Okay. Inside that you have a folder called main. Inside that you have a folder called Java. Okay. Now here you have the source folder. Inside that you have a folder called main. Now inside that you have another folder called resources. Okay, so it's like it's the hierarchy, right? So source is the main folder, right? That's where the entire source code of all the entire project, right? So that is the src folder. Okay, now inside that you have a main folder, right? And you have a test folder. Okay, inside the main folder you have the Java and resources folder, and inside the test you have Java and resources. Does that make sense, Ines? Right? Ines says thanks, right? Perfect, perfect, awesome. All right, okay. Okay, so now moving forward, right? Moving forward, so we are concerned about this src slash test slash Java. All right, now what you do here is you right click on this. Okay, you right click on this, go to new, and you create a package. Okay, so first thing that you create is a package. Okay, you don't directly go for a class. Okay, we ultimately will be creating class. What is a package? Now package is a collection of classes. Okay, package is a collection of classes. Bino says, what about pom and target? Bino, we'll talk about pom.xml, right, towards the end of the lesson. So it's there towards the end of the lesson, so we'll talk about that. Okay, pom.xml briefly I talked about it in the last lecture as well, but we'll talk more about it towards the end of the lesson. All right. Okay. Okay. So first thing that you create is you create package. Okay. What is a package? Package is basically a collection of Java files, right? So all your Java files are under one package. All right. So first thing you create is package. You click on package and here you can give in the name, right? The default name is fine. 7 test demo or any name that you want to give, right? Whatever name you've given, test demo or any name that you've given. So that is fine. Okay. And simply click on finish. Okay, so that should add this, right? You can see the space coming here, right? So after this folder you have some space, so that tells you that this particular 7th test demo, this package is inside this folder. See, if I click on this, you see it's gone, right? And if I again click on the small arrow, you see it comes back. Okay, so it is revealing to me what is there inside this folder. All right, so that is there inside this folder. Right now in this package is where you create your classes, right? And classes is where we write our code. Okay, so you right click on this package, now go to new, and you click on class now. Okay, right click okay, and click on class. Okay, now the class name you can give as let's say fake test, right? So initially we'll just write a fake test. Okay, so this is fake test, right? Name the class anything that you want. Okay, fake test is just fine because we are just testing a script. Okay, and here you'll see the option of public static void main, right? If you want this, you can click on this. Right now we don't want it. Okay, right now we don't want it, but when you're generally practicing Java, or you just want to write some program, you can use this, right? That is the public static void main that we have been discussing from our Java lessons. Okay, so if you remember, we have always had to write that public static void main to run our main function, right? And this just tick marking this will give it to you by default. Okay, but since today we'll be using TestNG, TestNG does not need this, right? TestNG does not need a public static void main, so we don't need that. Okay, so just choose that and click on finish. Okay, once you click on finish, you will see this file created fake test.java, and your editor should open over here, right? So this is your editor where you will write your code. So this is the place where you can write your code, right? This is your editor. All right, and it should just give you your class, public class fake test, with the open curly braces and the closing curly brace. Okay, and the first line will always be the package, right? First line is always the package, meaning which package does this class belong to. Okay, so this is the seventh test demo package, so therefore the name is coming here, right? Okay, Venus, could you please repeat the recent steps, right? All right, okay, okay, I'll repeat this, right? Let's repeat this. And others quickly give me a thumbs up, right, if you were able to follow through, and if you've created the first class. Okay, Ines says, please can you go over this again where you create a class from a package, right? Absolutely, right? Absolutely, absolutely. Theodore gives a thumbs up, Susan gives a thumbs up, Valentina says created, right? Awesome, awesome, perfect. Let me see others. Okay, all right, perfect. Okay, Jackson gives a thumbs up, right? Great, perfect. All right, okay. So let's do this again, right? Let's create this again. Okay, so let me delete this, right? Let me just, you right click. If you want to delete some particular class, you just click on delete, okay? And just confirm and continue. All right, so that will be deleted. Okay, so you see this, right? So this is the package that we had created. If you want to create the package, so first go to the folder. How do you create a package? Just go to the folder, right click, new, and package, right? So that is how you create the package. Okay, once the package is created, you right click on the package, you go to new, you go to class. Okay, so inside the package, what you create classes. You click on class, and all you have to do is give it a name, right? Just give the class a name. So let's say we say fake test, right? Fake test is the name I want to give. So you type in fake test, and simply click on finish. You don't have to click on anything else. Just click on finish. Okay, I'm just telling you for extra information that this option is generally there, public static void main, which helps when you're writing some Java programs, you want to practice Java programs. You can choose this option. If you choose this option, let me show you. If I choose this option, what happens, right? You choose this option, you see you get this public static void main by default, so I don't have to actually write it myself. I don't have to do much of the hard work, right? Everything is created for me, and I can write the code inside this. Okay, so that is the point. Okay, that is the point. Okay, so let me remove this, because right now we don't need public static void main, right? We don't need a void main because we are working with TestNG. Okay, we'll be working with TestNG, so we don't need that. Okay, what I need is public void, let's say test, right? Let's say my test. Okay, is that clear, right? Is that clear, Ines and Binu, was that clear? Created now. When it is, how do we save, for instance, when we write that code, any shortcut? If you want to save, right, Control S, right? Control S will save the particular file. Okay, Valentina, not sure what exactly are you talking about. Just saving the code, right? Let's say I make some edits, right? Let's say I make some edits, and you can just do Control S, right? That will save the file. Okay, and I'll quickly tell you. Let's say I've made some edit. You'll see the small star, right, beside the file name fake test.java. You see the star mark. The star mark means my file is not saved yet. Okay, that it's there is some unsaved changes. Okay, as soon as I do Control S, right, now you see that star mark has gone. That means my files are saved, right? Everything is saved and everything is perfectly fine inside these folders. All right. So that's the point, right? Well, it says yes, right? Perfect. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Okay. Now, now see, what are we going to do? We are trying to create test cases. Okay. So we want to use TestNG. Okay. So far you've created a basic class and a basic code for Java, right? So far it's Java, right? So nothing about TestNG right now. Okay, so now if I want to bring in TestNG, right? I want to bring in TestNG. What do I do? Okay, so first thing that you saw, right? You can annotate as @test, right? So we can annotate as @test. Okay, but once you annotate this as @test, what happens? You see this red squiggly line, right? Why? Because Java tells you, what is this? I don't understand this @test, right? You're just writing some random script. I don't understand that. If you type in int, I understand what integer is. You say int x equal to 5. Java understands that. Okay, but you are just writing this @test. Java is not understanding what this is. Therefore, it gives you this cross mark. So wherever you see this cross mark or this red underline, that means something is wrong over there. Right? Java is trying to indicate you, Eclipse is indicating you that there's something wrong over here. Okay. Now, if you hover over this, right, you just hover over this and you can see some options, right? You see some options and it gives me the options that add this snapshot as dependency. It gives me add JUnit 4 library to build path, add JUnit 5 library, and gives me add TestNG library. Okay, so these are some suggestions provided to me by Eclipse, right? So Eclipse is giving me some suggestions that maybe these things will fix it for you. All right, might fix your code. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to add this option. You see this add TestNG library. Okay, for you it might be the first option, second option, right? Anywhere, it could be anywhere, but make sure you click on the add TestNG library because we want to use the TestNG library. Okay, so once you click on this TestNG library, you see something will change in our project over here. See, right now in our project we don't have anything known as TestNG. You see this project, right? I close this, I open this, you see no folder, nothing about TestNG is over here. Okay, I hover over this and I say add TestNG, right? As soon as I do that, you see this TestNG has come over here, right? This TestNG comes over here and you get this, right? I don't have window and hovering over this. Valentina, I can't see the other test will come before the method, right? See, public class fake test, right? After that, you need this method, public void my test, okay? And other test comes just above the method, okay? This method is, I don't know if it is hidden from your syntax error, that dialog box, or it's not there, right? From what I can see, it's not there, I think. Just see if you have this public void my test, okay? This should be there, okay? This is the function, okay? And it should have its own curly brace open, curly brace closing. Above that, you should have this @test. Okay, so add this @test above that. Okay, and then hover over it. All right. Okay, makes sense. Who was able to add this TestNG, right? Who were able to add this TestNG? Ines says mine says syntax error. Ines, what syntax error? Valentina says same, right? Valentina, did you add this? Did you add this public void my test or any function? Because from what I can see on in your screenshot is you just have this public class fake test. You've created the class, but you've not created this particular function. Okay, Ines is done now, right? Awesome, awesome. Ines, perfect, perfect. Valentina, are you sure you have the public void my test written? Because I can't see that. And you see, right, I see in the third option, right? So in your screenshot, right, third option is add TestNG library. Okay, Valentina, in your third option, I see that add TestNG library, right? You need to choose that. Okay, Valentina, I added, right? Okay, perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, I was looking at your screenshot, right? Okay, okay, perfect, right? Binu says I'm able to see the TestNG folder in the left hand side, right? Perfect, perfect. Binu, awesome, right? Awesome. Valentina says double click, no single click, right? Valentina, single click will do it. Okay, single click would do it. Ina says I would say we did not hear when the public void my test was added. It's actually added by default, right? It's actually added by default. Okay, okay, let me show you again, right? Let me show you again. Let me remove this, right? Let's say don't save, and let me delete this, right? Let's go through it again. All right. Let's delete this, delete. All right. Okay. And see, once TestNG has been added, it'll stay in your project, right? So in my project, TestNG is there. Okay. So project TestNG has been added. See, right click again on the package. See, I'm right starting from again. Okay. You create the package, you right click on the package, new, and you say class. Okay, in the class I say, let's say fake test, right? Name of my class is fake test, and I don't choose public static void main. If I don't choose that, I simply click on finish, right? Once you click on finish, oh, okay, sorry, here it's not showing you the public void by default, right? Okay, sorry, yeah, okay, then my fault, right? My mistake, right? Because I went for the public static void main. Over there it was showing it to you, right? Okay, so once you have the blank class, right, then you say public void, and then you create a function, right? That function will be your test function. Okay, so you say my test, right? This is your function, my test. Okay, and then you open your curly brace, close your curly brace. So this function is what is needed, right? And now this function is what I need to annotate as test. So I say at the rate test for this function. All right. Okay, so now is it clear? Right now, is it clear? When this is where it looks like this, right? Yeah, Valentina, just confirm if you have this TestNG here on the left hand side. Okay, TestNG should be located here. Okay, and Valentina, from what I can see in your screenshot, you don't have this. You don't have these curly brace. So you created a function, right? This is where your basics of Java come into the picture, right? You create a function, you open the curly brace here, you close the curly brace here. The curly brace that I can see here in your screenshot is only for the class. This class opening here, class ending here. So make sure this part that I've highlighted, this curly brace, including curly brace, is written in your programs. All right. Okay, Valentina says thanks, right? Already have an headache, right? Okay, yeah, Valentina, no worries, right? No worries. You can see it later on also with the recording. Okay. And Jordan says you're missing the curly bracket for the test, right? Yeah. Perfect, right? Perfect. Awesome, awesome. Others, is it clear? Theodora says mine wasn't added by default, had to click on import afterwards. Yes, Theodora, coming to the import part, right? Others, Susan says cannot get TestNG. Susan, why share a screenshot? What does it show for you? Why is TestNG not showing it to you? And others give a thumbs up, right? If you have got this TestNG here, right? So inside your project, if you see a TestNG over here, give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up if you see this TestNG over here. And Susan, share a screenshot, right? What is the issue? Jackson gives a thumbs up, right? Ines gives a thumbs up. Binu gives a thumbs up, right? Perfect, perfect, awesome. All right. Theodore gives a thumbs up. Jordan gives a thumbs up. Susan has shared the screenshot. Susan, your T will be capital, right? Make sure this T is capital of test, right? This is not a small t, okay? It'll be T capital, okay? T-E-S-T. T will be capital. All right, Susan, try that T capital and then hover over it. You'll see that add test ng. Valentina said, I don't understand how it got added as my line 5 is still red cross, right? Absolutely, right, Valentina. See, even my line is red, right? Even my line is red. Don't worry. We are coming to the second part of it, right? I don't want to jump it. Yeah, it'll stay red, right? Don't worry, don't worry. I am coming to it, right? I'll tell you. Okay, I'll tell you. I just want to make sure everyone else is on the same page that they have added this test ng over here. Okay, so I'm coming to it. Coming to the next part. All right. Okay, so that was it, right? Case sensitivity, right? Perfect, perfect, right? Yeah, and that's how you all learn, right? See, sometimes it's case sensitive, okay, and others, if anyone has made the same mistake of keeping this t small, make sure it's capital. All right. Okay, perfect, awesome, awesome. All right, now moving forward, right? So Valentina raised a great question, right? That this is still red, right? Still red. Okay, I added the TestNG library, so Java should be happy about it, right? Java should say that, yeah, okay, you've added TestNG library, good, right? Now this red squiggly line should have removed, okay, but it does not. Why? Because see, TestNG you've added in your project, right? So this is my project, okay? So you've added it in your project, but nowhere have you indicated anything here in your file. Okay, so in your project you have TestNG, okay, but here this red line is now for Java is saying that in this file I don't understand the meaning of this other test. Is it a variable? What exactly is it? So what you have to do, you hover over this again and you choose this first option, import test, right? org.testng.annotations. You import this. As soon as you click on this import, you'll see your red squiggly line has gone. What does this mean? This import statement means that from this library, once you've added this library in your project, right? If you just open this, you'll see a lot of Java files here, right? You see this, you have a lot of packages, these packages, right? Inside this org.testng annotations, you'll see inside this so many classes, right? You see so many classes are there. So these are classes means the Java files, right? Already created by someone else. They've already created this. Okay, so it's already created. So once you added TestNG in your project, now you need to import it, right? Some specific part, like at the test I'm using. So I need to import that specifically here in my file, right? So once you import it, then Java will understand what is the meaning of this at the test. So just adding it to your project is not enough. Once you add it to your project, then you import it here while you're using it. Wherever you want to use it, you import that. So this is the statement import. So I'm saying from org.testng.annotations, I am importing test. Once you import this test, then Java understands what is the meaning of this and it is able to work accordingly. And therefore that red line goes away. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? When he says, I didn't see how you imported, right? Absolutely, right? We'll do this again and again, right? So it comes from everything. You see this red squiggly line, just hover over it, just hover over it. And the first option most likely will be the first option, but wherever you see in the option second, third, import test org.testng annotations. Okay, so import it, right? That is the only thing that you've not done. You've not imported it. Okay, so earlier from our initial Java lessons, right, you might have remember I used to create classes, right, class student, and so those classes I had to create. But now the advantage is those classes are already created by someone in TestNG, right? So they've already created that, so I have that advantage. So all I'm doing here is I'm just importing. All I'm doing is I'm importing this class over here, and then I can use whatever is there inside it. Okay. Well, this is finally looking like your Harshit, right? Thanks. Awesome, right? Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right. Bino gives a thumbs up. Others give a thumbs up if no red squiggly line is showing for you and you are following along till here. You have imported it correctly and everything looks perfect. Give me a thumbs up, right? Jackson gives a thumbs up. Theodora gives a thumbs up, right? Perfect, perfect. Others. Suzanne, all okay. Suzanne gives a thumbs up, right? Perfect, perfect. Awesome, awesome. All right. Okay. So now once you have this, right? Once you have this, what we do is Ines gives a thumbs up, right? Great, perfect. Okay. Now the logic, right? Inside this, right now we're not writing any logic. I'll just say system dot out dot print ln, and I'll just say my first test. Okay. And add a semicolon, right? So add this system.out.println my first test, and just put a semicolon after that. Add this line, right? Add this line inside your function. So whatever is your test logic goes inside here. Right now, we are not writing the test logic. Okay, we are just writing a simple print statement. So just writing simple print statement, my first test, or anything that you want to print over here. All right. So do that and save it. Right. You save it. You'll see that the star mark has gone. Okay. And then we run it. Right. Then we run it and we see. Okay. Just write the system.out.println statement and click on this play button. This green play button that you see. You click on that and you run it. Okay. Once you run it, you will see detected test ng, right? You'll see something in the output in the console, right? This is the console. This console is where you see all your outputs. This should show you detected test ng version this, right? Whatever is the version, and then it'll show you my first test and should show you passed. My test has passed. Okay, so quickly write this and run it and tell me if you are able to run it. When I don't have the lower console, you don't have this console. Okay, Valentina, then 1 second, you can still run it, right? Run it, just run it. The console will come automatically, right? It'll come by default. Otherwise, there's some setting over here, right, which has to display the console. Okay, show view or somewhere here. Here, right? So you can go to Windows, and you can click on show view and you can click on console if it's not specifically visible. But if you run it, it'll come by default, right? Because Eclipse will show it to you. Okay. Ines says default suit, total restaurant, 1, passes 1, failure 0, skip 0. Perfect, right? Absolutely, Ines, right? Yeah. So this one, right? So yeah, default test run 1, failure 0, skips 0. Okay, so that is absolutely perfect. All right. Okay. Yeah, perfect, right? Valentina, that is perfect, right? That is perfect. You can ignore the red lines, right? Those red lines are basically warnings, right? Those are warnings, okay? But yeah, it's perfect, right? It's perfect. You see the my first test and passed. As long as you're seeing that, then it's perfectly fine, okay? Default test run 1, failure 0, skip 0. That is fine, okay? Susan shows this, right? Yeah, perfect. Susan, that is also perfect, right? So Susan, you are on this, right? So there is another, see, there are some tabs over here. One is console, one is problems, right? Problems will show you whatever errors or something come up. Okay. Then you have a debug shell, and one another tab you have is results of running class fake test, right? What is the entire result? Okay. It shows you over here, right? So Susan, you are on this tab, right? You're on this tab. You can go to the first tab, right? You can go to the first tab or third tab for you, right? From your screenshot, I can see the third tab is your console. Okay. So you can go to the console tab and it'll show you the same thing. All right. So these are few tabs, right? These are few tabs that show you the results, and this is the overall this, and generally we look at the console right now, okay, not at the overall aspect of it. Okay, is it found? Susan's is found it, right? Perfect, right? Perfect. Okay, just looks different, right? Yeah, just looks different, right? Yeah, just looks different. This is specific. This console is by Eclipse, right? This is the default Eclipse console, and this console is by TestNG, right? So TestNG provides you that console for displaying the results. All right. Okay. So great, right? Great. If you've done this far, right? If you've done this far, then you have perfectly executed your first test in script. So great job, right? Great job. Well done, y'all. Susan shares this, right? Perfect, right? Susan, that is perfect, right? That is perfect. Absolutely, right? My first test and passed. That is absolutely perfect. Okay, so that is 100% correct. All right. Great job. Great job. All right. Anyone? Susan says the red lines don't mean anything. No, 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 Susan. Those are warnings, right? Those are warnings. Those are not errors, right? Those are not errors. Those are warnings, right? Don't worry about that. All right. Okay, perfect, perfect. All right. Okay. Others, is this clear, right? Have you all reached this, or anyone facing any issues? Anyone who was not able to run their first test ng script, or any issues with that, or they were not able to have this display in the console that the test has passed? See, right now the test will pass because our logic is nothing here, right? So logic is nothing, so it will pass by default, right? Because it's just a print statement. Okay, so therefore you see this my first test because we are printing that in the console, and it says passed, right? Because it's just a print statement, right? There's no comparison or nothing that we are doing right now. We'll write the logics later on, but right now there's nothing. All right. So anyone, right? Anyone who has not been able to uh, do this far, right? Give me a thumbs up, right? Give me a thumbs up if you have got the screen, right? If you were able to run your first test ng script, give me a thumbs up, okay? Because that's a milestone, right? It's the first milestone that we could run the first test ng script. So that's a milestone, right? It's a great milestone, and if you've achieved that, well done. Yoda gives a thumbs up, right? Binu gives a thumbs up. Ines gives a thumbs up. Perfect, right? Perfect, perfect. And from Susan, right, I can see the screenshot. I know that. And Valentina also had shared the screenshot. So I know they were able to do. Jixing gives a thumbs up, right? Perfect, perfect. Awesome, awesome. Excellent, right? Excellent. All right. Now let's move forward, right? Let's move forward. Okay. So now see, once what we did last time, right? See, the script that I showed you last time had multiple functions, right? It had 3, 4 functions. Okay. Samsung gives a thumbs up, right? Perfect. All right. Okay. Now see, what we can do is we can write more functions. See, right now, this is a function. Inside this is where my logic goes, right? So let's say I'm creating a logic about checking some APIs. Okay. Now I can create another function for writing another thing, right? So I can say public void my test 2, right? So this is my test 2. All right. Open close parenthesis, right? And then curly braces for your function. And again, you can say system dot out dot println. It's great if you just do it along, right? Do this along. It's good for practice. Okay. You say my second test. All right. It's my second test. Okay. So like this, we can create 3. Okay. So I want you to create 3 different test cases. Public void my test 3. Okay. So we create 3 different tests, and you can copy paste, right? You can copy paste and you can just change the name of the function, and you can change the text that is there inside the system or out of println. Okay. So this is for third. All right. So create these 3 functions, right? So these are 3 functions. This is function number 1, this is function number 2, and this is function number 3. Okay. All these are inside my class. Okay. And I will annotate these also as test, right? So I'll say at the rate test, right? Now see, now I don't have to import it because once you've imported, Java knows that it's there inside this file. Once it's there inside this file, Java knows that. Okay. So you can annotate it at. Now you don't have to import, right? Now no problems of having the squiggly lines. Okay, so I want this as test, I want this as test, right? So 3 tests I have created. Okay, so I've created 3 tests, my first test, my second test, and my third test, right? Create these 3 tests, and you see the star mark over here, right? That means it's not saved yet. Now I'll do Control S, I'll save it again, and then again I will run it. Okay, I'll again run it, and I'll see now my number of test cases should be 3, right? So now you see test run, 3 tests were run, failures were 0. Okay, and here you can see the default suit is there 3 tests were run, pass were 3, failures were 0, skips were 0. Okay, so 3 tests have been passed. All right. Okay. Does that make sense, right? Does that make sense? Valentina gives a thumbs up, right? Perfect, perfect, awesome. Okay. So have you all created these 3 different test cases, these 3 test functions? So these 3, at least create one, right? One is mandatory, right? It should create at least one. 3 is for good practice, right? Now I'll show you more functions, but yeah. Okay. Theora gives a thumbs up. Samson gives a thumbs up, right? Perfect. Oh, that's the other thumbs up, right? Others. Have you created these three, right? Three created. Jackson gives a thumbs up, right? Perfect, perfect. Others, three created. Vinu gives us a thumbs up, right? Great, awesome, awesome, right? Well done, well done. Okay, so now these are tests, right? So all these three are functions which I have annotated as @test. That means what? Now they are TestNG test functions. Okay, and Java will see them accordingly, right? Java will not look at them as a normal function, right? So these are now looking as a test function. Okay, now there are other annotations that we did last time, right? So we did some before test and after test also. Okay, so I'll show you that public void, right? I'm creating a function, and let's say I was trying to write the logic of login functionality over here, right? So I was trying to write the login functionality over here, but for that I need some setup, right? I need some setup. Okay, so I can create a function. And what kind of setup, right? You might need a setup of, let's say, connecting to the website or connecting to the database, right? So some kind of setups you need. Okay, so for that I create a separate function. I say public void setup, right? This is my separate function, and I say system.out.println. Right now I'm not actually doing anything, but imagine the logic inside this is connecting to the website. Okay, connected to the website, right? So this is the logic that goes inside this function, right? The logic might be 10 lines, okay, might be 10 lines of code, but it'll be there inside this function. Okay, now what I tell Java is that, hey, this is a setup function which has to be executed before any of these tests are executed. Before any of your test functions are executed, execute the setup. Okay, so for that, what I can do is, Ina says, please let me take you back a bit. What would be the test result? Three tests run, three passed. Exactly, Ines, right? Yeah, absolutely, right? Absolutely. You can see here, right? Total test run is three, and three have passed, right? Failures are zero, skips are zero. Okay, all three will pass. Why are they passing? Because we're not writing any logic, right? You're just printing. Okay, print means pass, right? Print means if Java is successfully able to print something here, then that means the job is done. Okay, job is done means it's passed. Okay, so that's the thing, right? Right now we are just printing statements, so it will pass, right? It will pass. There's no option of failures here, right? I'll tell you when we come to failures, right? When we actually write some logics, and when we come to failures, I'll tell you about that. Okay, but right now don't worry about passing or failing. It will pass, right? As long as you see the screen, right? The screen should be there. The screen is what is telling you that TestNG is running perfectly fine for you. All right, so that is the point. Okay, so moving on, right? Moving on. Ines, is that clear? Ines, is that clear? And anyone else, any other questions, any other doubts so far? If you have any questions, or if you're struggling at any moment, any place, right, just feel free to post in the live chat, right? I'm here, I'll try to debug. Seraphim is also there, we'll try to help you. Okay, Ines is not quite. What steps did you take before running the test again? No steps, right? No steps. Firstly, I'll just save it. Okay, so I'll just do Control S, that is saving the file. Okay, and you just click on this play button, this green play button that you see, right? You just click on that. Okay, and you see this, so we run, and you see this three tests. Okay, so we have three tests and three have passed. Okay, so nothing special, right? You just change something, you just save the file, and you run this, right? Just the green play button is for running it. Okay, and in case it's not showing you perfectly, you see this drop down below this, you can choose from here also, right? What exactly do you want to run? Okay, and this run as is also there, right? You can choose that if it's not showing for you. So what exactly do you want to run? You can choose from the drop down also, but you'll not be needing it. You can directly click on this green play button and it'll run for you. Does that make sense, Ines? Does that make sense? And just run it quickly, Ines, run it, and let's see if you are on the same page. Okay, while Ines is running, right, let's move forward, and you have this, right, public void setup. Okay, so another function we create, public void setup, in which we say system.out.println connecting to the website. Okay, now I want to annotate this function as before test. Okay, why? Because I want to run this particular function before any of the test functions are executed. Why? Because first I want to connect to the website, and then my test function should be executed, because my test functions are working on that website, and if there's no connection to the website, then there's no point in executing these test functions, because see, Java will not wait for you. Java will not wait for you that, okay, now you've connected, so I will then execute the test, because Java does not know what is the logic inside this test, right? Java does not know that. Okay, so you have to explicitly say that, okay, this is something to be done before any of the test functions are executed. Okay, so first I need to do the setup. I need to connect to the website. This has to be done first. Okay, so therefore you annotate it as at the rate before test, and it will again show you as red squiggly line. Why? Now quickly tell me in the live chat, why does it show you as red squiggly line, and what is the solution for this? What is the solution for this? How will you resolve this error? And so you can always hover over this also, right? This red line, this red cross that you can see, you can hover over this also to get an idea about what exactly is the error. Okay, right. Bino says import, right? Import, so this is import annotations, right? Absolutely, right? Absolutely. Ines says we have not imported the annotation library, right? Exactly. Ines, perfect, right? Perfect. See, we have imported, right? See, org.testng.annotations. Okay, till annotations we imported. We have imported especially the test, right? From annotations, we have only taken the test. This is the capital T. That is what we've taken. So Java understand that, okay, at the test you've taken. So this test is this test. Okay, so that is fine. But what is before test? So now Java is putting you the question, what is this before test? Now you bring in something else before test, right? What is this? I don't know. So you hover over this and you click on the first option, import before test. You click on this, you see we have another line. This import org.testng.annotations.before test. So from TestNG annotations, you have imported the before test now. Okay, it comes automatically, so you don't have to write these codes. So you see the advantage of having this IDEs and this thing, right? You just have to click on import, just hover over this, click on import, and it'll add the line for you. So I didn't have to actually write this. So when you see complex or any extensive code, right? You see any codes like 1,000 lines of code, most of it is done automatically, right? You just hover over this, you click, right? Those things come automatically. Okay, so that's the point. All right. Ines, is it clear, right? Ines says import annotations, right? Absolutely, right? Ines, that was correct, right? That was correct. That was correct. Okay. So quickly give me a thumbs up, right? If you were able to follow through. Ines, give me a thumbs up, right? If you were able to follow through with this. And now you can save this and you can run this again. But I would also like to add one more function here, right? One more function here. Theodore gives a thumbs up. Binu gives a thumbs up, right? Perfect. Jixing gives a thumbs up. Okay. We'll add one more function, right? Public void. Okay. So the first one was the setup, right? So that is before test, before any other test functions are executed, this function should be executed. Okay, and once that is done, these three test functions will be executed. You run these three test functions, and after that, right, once everything is done, we want to terminate the connection to the website, right? I want to terminate that. So I have public void, and let's say clear up, right? I name the function as clear up. Okay, so this is my new function, public void clear up. Okay, and here I say system dot out dot println, and I say disconnecting. Okay, disconnecting from the site. Okay, and now here you can annotate this as at the rate after test. Okay, after test. Why? Because I want to run this function once all the test functions are executed, then I want to run this function, and this function will disconnect it from the site. So inside this function I'll write the logic of disconnection on the website, and that is what you run over here. Okay, and again you'll see the red squiggly lines. You hover over it, right, and click on the first option, import after test from org.testng. Okay, always make sure you're importing from org.testng. Okay, not from somewhere else. Okay, and if you look at the top, you'll see this import statement has been added automatically for you. You didn't have to do anything, and it is there. Okay, and you'll see no red lines, no errors are coming. And again, you can save it. It's not saved right now. You click Control S, save it, and now you can run this. Okay, now you run. Now if you run, you will see that we see some things, right? So you see connecting to the website first, right? This comes first, right? Connecting to the website. Okay, and now you see my first test, and then you see my third test, and then you see my second test, and then you see disconnecting from the website. Okay, so if you look at the order, right, so connecting to the website comes first. Why? Because this function has been annotated as before test, so it will be executed first, right? Because it is before test, so it has to be executed first, and it'll say connecting to the website, right? But after that, you see the first function is my first test. Okay, so this comes my first test. But after that, you see, right, what do you see? You see my third test coming, right? So why is that? Because see, all these three functions are test function. This is test function one, this is test function two, this is test function three, right? They're all test functions, and anyone could be executed first, right? It's not like it does not go sequentially, right? There's no sequence. Any test could have been executed first, right? It could be completed first. Like here, third test was completed before the second test. So my third test comes first, and then comes my second test. Okay, so that is the point that I want to make you clear. It's not that you have written in the sequence my first test, then my second test, then my third test. So it will not come according to that, right? That's not mandatory. Okay, and anyone could complete first. Okay, and based on that, you'll get the output. All right, and after that, the last thing that you get is disconnecting from the website. Why? Because this is the after test. Okay, now this disconnecting from the website cannot come anywhere in between. Why? Because it has been annotated as after test. So once all the test functions are executed, then only this function will be executed. It cannot be executed before. So there's no chance of this disconnecting from site coming before any of these tests. There's no chance of that. Why? Because it has been annotated as after test. Once all test functions are completed, then this function is executed. Okay, and all three are passed, right? All three are passed. Why? Because there's no logic right now, right? It's just a print statement. Okay, so now quickly tell me, right, if you were able to run this before test, after test, and with three test functions, or at least one test function, right? You should have at least one test function, and have a before test, have an after test. Okay, and if you have three test functions, great, but at least have one test function, one before test, one after test. Okay, and give me a thumbs up if you were able to do it so far. Right, Valentina gives us this, right? Valentina, I'm assuming that's a thumbs up, right? That's rocking this, right? Great, awesome. All right, Dixon gives a thumbs up, right? Binu gives a thumbs up. Theodora gives a thumbs up. Perfect. BB gives a thumbs up, right? Great, awesome, awesome, right? Perfect, awesome, awesome. All right, okay, okay. Now the next question someone might ask, right? Susan gives a thumbs up. Samson gives a thumbs up, right? Perfect, perfect. Great, great. All right, okay. Now the next question you might ask is, what if my tests, right, my tests are designed sequentially? Like here I'm trying to test the let's say add to cart functionality, then here I'm trying to test the checkout functionality, here I'm trying to test some other functionality which comes after that, right? So there's a natural follow-up sequence. Okay, so what if I'm trying to do that, right? Then what happens if the third test is executed before the second one? I'll be in a fix. I don't want that. I want the sequence to be followed, right? So in that case, what do you use, right? We discussed this last time briefly in our theory. Quickly tell me, right, if you remember, what can we use over here? What can we use here, which will help us tell Java that you have to run this first, then this, right? Quickly tell me in the chat. Minu says prioritize. Okay, others, is that correct or is that incorrect? Binu has said prioritize, right? Is that correct, incorrect? Others, tell me. We discussed the theory of this last time. Others. See, does not matter if you get it wrong, right? It's not a test, right? We are not. It is not a final ISTB exam, right? So don't worry. Okay, don't worry. Okay. Jixing says array. Jixing, why array, right? Why array? What will array do? Valentina says other data provider. No, not exactly. No, Valentina. Data providers to provide data, right? Data providers to provide data. Okay. Okay, Binu has changed his statement. Prioritize, give priority as per order or need, right? Yes, my question is Binu correct or incorrect, right? That's my question. Is Binu correct or incorrect? Okay. So look at what Binu has said, right? Think logically. Think logically. What Binu has said, right? Is it making sense in our case or not, right? Right? A data provider is someone who will provide you data, right? So it's all from the terms, okay? So data provider is someone who will provide you data, right? So when we are working with data, we'll look at example of that also. Okay. Jonathan, I see why it isn't working. Data is away. Okay, Jonathan, that's a good one, right? That's a good one. All right. Okay. Okay. So I'll tell you, right? So yeah, Bino is correct. Okay, Bino is correct, right? Bino prioritize is correct, right? That is correct. Priority. Okay, priority is what you need over here. Okay. Okay, Susan has sent one script also, right? Perfect, right? Susan, that is absolutely correct, right? Priority is what you need, right? So Bino, that was absolutely correct. I didn't say correct that time because I want to test others also, right? Whether they know it or not, right? So yeah, priority is correct, right? So what you do is beside of this other test, right? Beside of this other test, you create a bracket and you just say priority, Okay, what priority do you want to set this as? I want to set this as priority 1. Okay, and you go to the next one, right? Next one, and again you open a bracket and you say priority. Okay, priority, and you say priority is equal to 2. Okay, and then you go to the next one, right? And again here you say priority is equal to 3. Okay, so now I'm saying I want a specific sequence that the priority of this one is first, then this one is second, and this one is third, right? So I am specifically I'm giving Java the sequence that this is priority number 1, this is priority number 2, this is priority number 3, right? That is how my test cases are designed, right? So now if you save it, right? Now if you save it and now if you run it, okay, now let's see, run it, and let's see what output do we get, right? So again, 3 test cases, 3 passed, right? But now look at the output, right? So connecting to the website first, this will definitely come first. This cannot come in between. Why? Because this is before test, right? It is annotated as before test, so it will execute first, right? Connecting to the website comes first. Okay, then now you see the sequence: my first test, then my second test, and then my third test. Now you have the sequence: first test, second test, third test. Why? Because we have given the priorities 1, 2, and 3. So that is the priorities. Okay, and then you have disconnecting from the site, right? Disconnected from the site because that is the after test. Okay, and yeah, these are the 3 passes because right now we're not creating any logic, so it will pass. All right, so that is the case, right? Is that clear? Right, is that clear? Any questions? I see Valentine has posted a question. Do you have to set priority for every one of the test, or can you just put prioritize one if you don't care priority of others, right? Yeah, Valentina, you can, right? You can. Okay, you can. Okay, if you just want to prioritize 2, you can do that. All right, right, yeah, perfect, awesome. All right, okay, so let me now quickly go back to the Codio lesson, right? So this is the first TestNG, right? Let's look at this. We did the Maven project, we created Maven project. Okay, group ID, artifact ID, we created all this, right? You've created your first test. Okay, and this is the result that we got. All right, okay, and system.out.println is your friend, right? So if you anytime, right, like you see we were using, anytime you face any issues, you want to check out something, you can always use system.out.println to check it out. Okay, and okay, troubleshooting and debugging, right? Let's take a break, right? I want to spend some time on troubleshooting and debugging, so let's take a break, right? Let's take a quick break here of 10 minutes, and then let's come back to troubleshooting and debugging. All right, I'll stop here, and Ray, we can take a quick. Thank you so much, Raya. Don't worry, I'll win, right? I'll win someday. Okay. All right. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Let me quickly share the screen and give me a thumbs up, right? If you can see the screen. And I saw Ines has posted something, right? Let me put this here. I said the priority, right? Yeah, I read through that, right? Read through that. And great job, right? I see Binu and Jordan, right? You're all helping. Wonderful, right? It's wonderful. This peer-to-peer learning is actually very good. Okay, so you all should post these questions and you all should discuss amongst each other. That is absolutely great, right? It's great for learning. All right, I highly recommend that. All right. And yeah, Ines, so great question put, right? Ines, that was a great question put. So what you did, right? What you missed was priority number 3. Okay. So if you miss this priority number 3, right? If you miss this priority number 3, what happens is first and second are set as priorities. So the first test will always come before test. That is what you're saying. Okay. You are saying that the first test will always come before the second test. So it will always be 1, 2. Okay. But for the third one, right? This third one, you've not set as any priority. So this third one is free to come anywhere. So 3 can come first also. So it could be 3, then 1, 2. Okay. But that 1, 2 will not change the positions. It will always be 1, 2. It can never be 2, 1. That will not happen, right? Because the priority set here is 1, 2. All right, and 3 is free to go anywhere, right? It could be 3, 1, 2, right? It could be 1, 2, 3, right? So like that. Okay, so I see Binu, I see Ines, that was clear, right? Awesome, right? Awesome. uh Ines, clear, right? That was clear, right? I From what I saw in the chat, that was clear. But quickly give me a thumbs up, right? If that was clear, right? Perfect, right? Awesome. Thank you. All right, great, awesome. All right, okay. Now we will look at troubleshooting and debugging. Right now, at some times you might have some errors, right? Or see, troubleshooting is the process in which programmers identify issues happening within a given system. Okay, debugging is form of troubleshooting and requires the developer to uncover issues related to the software. Troubleshooting and debugging are huge part of the developer or test engineer. Okay, because every time you write a code, it's not necessary it will work flawlessly, right? There might come some issues, something. So you should know how to look at the errors, how to debug it, and how to correct those. Okay, so in the context of frameworks like TestNG, it means analyzing errors with the setup of the code, and errors do not always present themselves in obvious ways, and this is where the skills and experience of troubleshooters really come into the play. Okay, so for example, right, for example, let's do something in our program. Let's introduce an error. Okay, so we'll introduce an error called break me, right? So let's introduce this error. Okay, so in my first function, right, in my first test function, what I say is, after printing this, right, after printing this, I just say break me. Okay, just break me. Okay, so it's a simple statement, incorrect statement, no meaning of Java, right? And that's why you see this red underline, because Java says, what is this you're writing? I don't understand this. It'll provide me some quick fixes, but it's not correct. All right, and that's why you see this error, this red cross over here. All right, so this is an error that I have introduced intentionally, right? Now let me save this, right? I save this and now let me run this. Okay, now let's run this and see. Eclipse by default tells you that there are errors in the workplace. Do you still want to proceed? And I say proceed, right? Just proceed with it. Okay, now you see, we will find some errors. Okay, you see, we have detected some errors. So these functions are running, right? These functions are running, but you see here failed with this my test, right? So the first function that was my test, we failed at that. All right, and now how to read the error, right? See, you will see there are lots of lines of this error, right? See, the error starts from here, java.lang.error, and it starts from here, and all this entire thing is your log, right? This is your log. Entire thing is your log. Okay, it's telling you about your error. Okay, but don't worry, you don't have to see all of this. You don't have to see the entire thing. What you need to see is the starting, right? The starting parts. Okay, for example, just read what the error says. Unresolved compilation problems. What does it tell you? That Java was not able to compile this. That means what? It was not able to put together the code. There's something wrong in the code. It's not able to put together everything. Okay, there might be some errors which are found at the runtime. Those are different errors. These are compile time errors. Okay, so Java is not able to compile that. Okay, after this, what you see is syntax error. These will help you identify where is your error, right? What is causing the trouble? That is what these three lines will tell you. Okay, the first three lines. Okay, so look at the second line. It says syntax error. What is the meaning of syntax error? Syntax error means that there is some issue with your syntax. Syntax means the typing that you're doing, right? So these are syntax. Like if I make this s as small, this system.out.println, I make this s as small. Okay, that's again error, right? That's a syntax error because the language that you're typing, that is incorrect. Okay, and it says insert variable declarators to complete local variable declaration. Why? Because it is thinking that there is this break me that you're doing, right? This break me, it's type of a variable. You're trying to declare a variable, but you've not declared integer or something, right? So Java is thinking that. Okay, so that's why it's saying that this break me does not have any variable declarators. You've not declared any variable. And then it says syntax error, insert semicolon, because there's no semicolon here. So Java spot that, right? It says that there is no semicolon. To complete the local variable declaration, add a semicolon over here, right? That's what it's suggesting to you. So immediately you can think, right, that somewhere I have missed a semicolon. In my program, somewhere I have missed a semicolon, or somewhere I have not declared a variable declarator like integer, float, right? I have not declared a data type. Okay, so that can immediately come to you. Okay, now the next question comes is, where exactly? My program could be 1,000 lines of code, right? Could be 1,000 lines of code. Now, where in this do I keep scrolling up and down, or where do I see where has this error actually occurred? Okay, so that you'll see over here, right? That this error has, it cannot be resolved at, right? At where? Look at the first line. It says add this fake test dot my test, right? So it tells you the function name, my test. And here it tells you fake test dot java. This is important, right? Fake test dot java means in the file, right? Fake test dot java is the name of the file here, fake test. So even if a file is not open and it's the error is in some other file and you try to run the entire thing, right, it gives you that fake test.java has the error. And colon, right, after colon, this number is very important. The number that you see over here, 23, right, that is very important because that indicates to you which line the error is in. Okay, so the file is fake test.java, and in which line of this particular file? Line number 23. So you can quickly open this file, faketest.java, and you can quickly scroll through line number 23. This is line number 23. These numbers are line numbers. If you see line number 1, line number 2, 3, like this, and you go all the way to line number 23. Okay, line number 23 is where your error is. So you can quickly spot it. All right. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Is that clear? Let me quickly look at the live chat. McManus says, what did you select to see this list of error, and in console, nothing showed? Valentina, you're in problems, right? So you're in this tab, right? You're in the problems tab. Okay, so you're over here. Okay, this will give you a log of everything, right? Go to the console. Console gives it more detailed. Okay, console is more detailed. All right. So go to the console tab. It's right, first, second, third, fourth, right? Fourth for you. Okay, the console tab is in the fourth one for you. Okay, so right after your declaration. Console is empty. Are you sure you saved the file and you run the? Did you save the file and you ran it? Okay, and this is yes, right? It should show you the error, right, in the console. What is it showing you? Can you post the console after clicking on proceed, right? So you have a dialog box open up which says error in workplace, errors exist, proceed with launch. Click on proceed, and after that, give me the screenshot of console. What does it show you in the console? Yeah. So Valentine, yeah, in the console, right? So you've seen this, right? This is the last part. Okay. You can scroll up, right? Can you scroll up on it and you'll see the error coming up? Just scroll up. I think it should allow you to scroll up, right? Because see, if I also minimize this, right? If I just minimize this and I just do this, right? See, this is the screen that is showing it to you. Okay. So maybe you can pull this up, right? Or maybe if you don't want to pull it up, just scroll, right? This console is scrollable, right? This entire window is scrollable. Okay. So scroll that and see, can you see it up? Okay, right. Yeah, Valentine, now I can see it, right? Perfect, perfect. It was all inline problems, right? Yeah, yeah, perfect, right? Should show you in both places, right? Problems will also log it, and console is more verbose, right? Shows you details, right? So perfect, right? Perfect. You can see it, right? Perfect. Awesome, awesome. All right. Okay. So the point is that in your errors, right? In your errors, it will show you where your error is and what kind of error you have. For example, here you have syntax error. Okay, and you've not added a semicolon. Okay, so these will give you hints as to what is causing your error. Okay, and the most important one is this one, right here, fake test.java. This is the file name which has caused the error, and this is the line number. So you don't have to worry about the other things, right? These other things don't worry about, because they are dependent, right? So these other because of this error, because of this error at line number 23 in fake test.java, the second error came, right? Not exactly the second error, but that's the follow-up. Okay, so this is causing the issue. That's the entire hierarchy of where the error traverses. All right. So main point is that you have this line number 23. You can quickly look at line number 23, come to your file, line number 23, and you see this, that, okay, here is my error, and you can resolve it. All right. So you can remove it, or however you want to resolve it, and you can save, and again, you can continue with your program. All right. Now, you have another thing, right? See, below any test, you see this run and debug, right? So you have this run and debug here also. You can click on this debug, right? It's a clickable button that TestNG already provides you. Okay, so you can click on this debug also. It will open you this, right? It'll open you a console, and it will allow you to do the debug also, right? Debugging. Okay, if there is any error, right? So right now I've removed the error, but let's say if there is any error, let's say I say break me. Okay, and now if you debug, right? Now if you debug and you see, okay, proceed. Now you see this, right? You see on the left hand side, you get a debugger. Okay, you get a debugger over here, and you see fake test is Java line number 24, right? This is the error over here, right? So it shows you in a more concrete and much better fashion, right? That what exactly these are the same things that you saw in your console, right? Line number 24, and this was the second one, right? Second line and all that. So it gives you everything in a debugger, right? So it gives you a second pane over here, and over here it shows you the debugger, right? So that's the only difference. Okay. So that is another thing that you can always use, debug. Debug means it's not actually running the program. Okay, so it's not actually running the program yet. It's just debugging, right? It's just checking whether everything is correct or not, right? Everything is working in accordance to how they want it or not. Okay, and you can stop it, right? You can stop the debugger anytime you want, and you can always come back to your project explorer. So here you see this is your debug explorer and this is your project explorer. You can come back to your project explorer anytime you want. All right, so this is how you can debug, right? Let me remove this error, save this again. Let me look at the live chat. What is the break me for, right? Valentina, it's just a statement, right? It's just a statement to break the program, right? Like you can have anything, right? You can have any gibberish thing, okay? Because I want to introduce an error, okay? I want to introduce an error, and I'll give you the same thing, right? See, now if I run this, or let me do debug, right? I do debug, I proceed, okay? Again, it'll say line number 24 has this error, right? This line number 24 has this error, right? It says this thread is suspended and this cannot be resolved. This JDSNBJK, this cannot be resolved, right? Like, what is this? Java is saying, I don't understand what is this. And it says it's over here in fake test.mytest line number 24, right? So you can always come back to it and you can remove it, or let's say you've forgotten to add some integer, right? Let's say you're trying to create a variable, let's say my variable, but you forgot to add int before this, okay? And or any other error, right, that might come up. So that is what will come up. All right, so just for debugging, right? That break me was nothing specific. It's just any gibberish text, right? Okay, and this is okay, right? Perfect. Okay, others, is it clear, right? Is it clear how you debug, right? How do you look into this? And that's how you can troubleshoot, right? So anytime you have any errors, anything, you always either debug or look at the console, look at where the errors are, look at these hints that the console gives you, and then go accordingly and resolve it. All right, okay. Ines gives a thumbs up, right? Perfect. Others give me a thumbs up, right, if it's clear. And let's see this, right? So these are known as error logs, right? The logs that you saw, those were error logs. And yeah, this one, right? This one that you saw, right? So we saw the same thing. That was the error logs. And the syntax, this debugging, right? I showed you the debugging, and those are breakpoints, right? You can add the breakpoints. Okay, one more thing you can do is you can add some breakpoints. Okay, so for example, let's say you want to add a breakpoint over here. You can always right click on this and you can say toggle breakpoint. Okay, what is the meaning of breakpoint? That once the code is being executed, it will stop over here, right? It will stop over here at this breakpoint. Okay, it will not move forward. Okay, so until that point you have a breakpoint. Okay, so let's say I want to test whether my first test and second test work correctly or not, right? I'm not concerned about test number 3. Okay, so I will add a breakpoint over here, right? I can add a breakpoint over here. Okay, so that is what you can do, right? You can just add a breakpoint over here, and it'll try to resolve it till the breakpoint. Okay, so first test, second test, till that time, do you have any issues or not, right? So it'll just run the first part, because how do you break the program to running only a partial? So it's like running partial of the script, not the entire script, right? Just a partial part. Okay, that's what a breakpoint is for. Okay, so breakpoints can also be added to pause the script at certain points in the code, right? This is helpful if the point of error has been narrowed down. So for example, let's say you have 1,000 lines of code, but you know your error is somewhere caused in the first 100 lines, right? That's where some logic is there. And you know, let's say for login functionality, right? And the issue is coming from the login functionality. So it's there in your first 100 lines of code, right? You've narrowed it down, but then you can add breakpoints at, let's say, line number 10, line number 20, line number 30, right? And then you can narrow it down, right? Where exactly is your error coming from. But it needs to be slowly stepped through to identify the exact point of failure. To insert breakpoint in the code editor, right click on the left column next to lines and select toggle breakpoint, right? Like I showed you. Okay, where breakpoints won't work, some errors may occur during the code compiling stage, breaking the script before it has a chance to reach the breakpoints. Okay, so for example, let's say your breakpoint is at line number 100. Okay, line number 100 is your breakpoint. Okay, and if there is any issue, right, any compiling issue before that, right, so you've not reached your breakpoint and there's compiling issue over there, so breakpoint will not work, right? Breakpoint will not work because you have an error before that, right? So that is the point. And if you have an error in, let's say, line number 200, your breakpoint is at line number 100, error is at 200. Okay, so still the program will break at 100, right? So because it will run till that breakpoint and it'll stop over there. Okay, because you've not reached line number 200, so that error does not make sense to Java right now. All right, is that clear, right? Is that clear or not clear? Just let me know. And let's see, let's look at the knowledge check, right? It's a knowledge check. Question number 7. Okay, this is in continuation from the last lesson. So question number 7. If a red squiggly line appears under a package or annotation in the code and the syntax appears to be correct, what is the most likely problem, right? So you feel your syntax is correct in your program and a red squiggly line is appearing under the package or annotation. So you're trying to annotate at the rate test or at the rate before test, you're getting a red squiggly line. So what is the most likely problem? Is it because of an unknown variable, because of a missing import statement, because of a missing dependency, or because statement declared outside of class? Bino, so can you please repeat the breakpoint adding steps, right? Absolutely, Bino, right? Let's repeat that. When it says missing import statement, right? That is correct, Valentina. Ines is missing dependency. No, Ines, right? It's the missing import, right? Because that is what we added, right? You saw those squiggly lines and you hovered over it, and I'll show it to you again, right? Look at this. Uh, let's say before test, right? If I remove this before test, I remove the import statement. All right. Now you see this red squiggly line. We hover over this and you saw the import, right? This import is what we need, right? So you need the import. Okay. Not about dependency. Okay. And okay. Ines is right, import statement, right? Correct, right? Absolutely. Okay. Binu says repeat about the breakpoint, right? Yeah, okay. See, Binu, what happens is, see, sometimes, let's say this is my program, right? This is my program, and I want to add some breakpoint here, right? Let's say I want to add some breakpoint over here, okay? Or a breakpoint over here, right? So why do I add a breakpoint first? Is I don't want to run this entire script. I don't want to run the entire program right now. I just want to see that whether everything is correct till this line or not, right? Till line number 37. Okay, the line number 37 is everything correct or not. That is what I want to see, right? Till here. Okay, or till line number 34, right? Till here. Okay, I just want to see till here, right? Why do we do this? Because see, when you have thousands of lines of code, okay, and you don't have some syntax error. See, because when you have a syntax error, this log will specifically tell you that where is your error, right? Your error is at line number this specifically, right? It'll tell you. Okay, but sometimes you don't have syntax error. There's some logical errors, right? And you don't want to run the entire program. You know that my logic, right, somewhere here is incorrect. So from here to here, somewhere I have some issues. Okay, so I want to add a breakpoint. What does that mean? That when Java is going to run the program, it will stop till here. It will not go beyond this. It will not run this, right? It will not run this till I tell it to. Okay, so what you can do is you can right click on this line, right? You can always right click on this line. Okay, and you can say toggle breakpoint. Okay, you can say toggle breakpoint. All right, and that'll add a breakpoint, right? That adds a breakpoint to this function. Okay, so what happens is that Java will run it and it'll stop over here, right? It'll stop over here and not go beyond it, right? So what you can do is it helps you to analyze where your mistake is. Okay, that am I correctly coming till here? Am I correctly coming till here, right? Or till which breakpoint I'm correctly coming till? Okay, so that helps you narrow down your issues, right? Where exactly is your error? All right. Does that make sense, right? Does that make sense, Binu? And this is more specifically used in developers, but it's also helpful for software testers, right? It's also helpful for testing. But yeah, because how do we remove the breakpoints, right? Yeah, you can remove the breakpoints just the same way, right? Let's say here, right? Let's say I can right click this and again click toggle breakpoint. Okay, you see that's removed, right? That is removed. Okay, so you see this line number 29. If I say toggle breakpoint, you see this coming over here, right? This means there's a breakpoint over here. Okay, that is what is telling Java that I'll stop here, right? You can again right click on this and again you can say toggle breakpoint. Toggle means if there's no breakpoint, add it, and if there is something, just remove it, right? That's the toggle, right? Like you have uh, a light and a dark screen, right? Light mode, dark mode, right? You just toggle it, right? Light mode will give you light mode and dark mode gives you a dark screen. So similar way. Okay, so this is a toggle. All right. Ines says, how can you tell where you add a breakpoint in a line of code, right? Ines, you have to add it, right? So it's uh, logically if you're saying, right, logically if you're saying, so let's say I am working on the, let's say, login functionality, right? So on a particular website, so this part of my code works on login functionality, this part of my code works on, let's say, looking at the checkout functionality, right? Now what I do is I know that my login functionality is not working correctly, right? So there's some issues over there. Okay, now what I do is at this position, right, so I have to logically think where should I add my breakpoints, right? So I can add it here, right? Let's say for this one, right, I can add it over here. Okay, you can add it over here, right here, if you want to add, right, you can add it over here. okay, and you want to add it over here, you can add it over here. And this line, right, this dot, you see this, see, I can zoom it for you, okay, you see this dot, right, this line beside 11, okay, that is telling me that there's a breakpoint over there, right, that tells me there's a breakpoint over there, okay. If you want to remove it, again right click and just toggle, okay, that'll remove, okay. Same for line number 20, just right click and toggle, right, that'll remove it. All right, so that is the point of breakpoints. Does it make sense, Ines? Since this, what's the arrow in line number 24? This is for the debugger, right? This is for the debugger. That's not specific for line number 24, right? It's not for 24. No, it's not a breakpoint, right? It's not a breakpoint. Okay, so okay, right? Perfect, perfect. All right, okay. All right, okay. Moving forward, right? Moving forward. So question number 7, we did this right. B is correct. Missing import statement. That was the correct answer. Look at question number 8, right? Look at question number 8. A breakpoint would not be useful in identifying which of the following, right? Which of the following, it will not be helpful in identifying. A breakpoint will not be helpful in identifying that. A function that is not working properly, a reference to a broken database connection, a compiling error before the steps in the script can be read, or a step in the script that executed before the page could be loaded in time. In which of these a breakpoint would not be useful? Since is compiling error before the steps in the script can be read, right? Absolutely, right? That is absolutely correct, right? So that is absolutely correct. Compiling error before the steps in the script can be read, right? Yeah, because see, if you add a breakpoint, right? See, if I add a breakpoint over here, okay, so I'm adding a breakpoint over here. Let's say I say a breakpoint over here, okay. But if my error is here, right? If my error is here, let's say I've added some gibberish thing, right? My error is over here, okay. So Java will stop over here. It will have, it'll just stop over here, right? Because it cannot execute the entire program because there's some error over here. So then breakpoint does not make sense because you were not able to reach this stage. You were not able to reach line number 20, okay? Because your error is before that, right? So that is the point, right? It's a simple logical point, right? You have an error before that, so Java will stop over there, right? Here you are enforcing the stop. Breakpoints are enforcing the stop. So if I don't have any errors before this, right? So you are enforcing Java to stop over here. Stop till here, you see everything is working correctly, right? Perfect. Then you execute, right? Then you move forward. All right. And if any error is after it, then breakpoints will still work correctly, right? Because your error is after that. Okay. Does that make sense, right? So yeah, that is option number 3, right? Breakpoints can be useful for identifying the other scenario examples listed here, but if the code can't even compile properly, then it won't get that far, right? So that is the point. If the code cannot compile, then it will not get that far, right? So that is correct. All right. Okay, moving forward, right? Annotations and ordering, right? We did this annotations and ordering. We did all the annotations before test, test, after test, and we also did the ordering, priority, 1, 2. We did that, right? Okay, now look at question number 9, right? Look at question number 9 and quickly tell me which of the following is the correct syntax for ordering test execution. Is it at the rate test priority equal to 2, test order execute equal to 2, at the rate test order equal to 2, or at the rate test is equal to order bracket 2? Which of these is correct? Okay, student says at the test priority equal to 2, Ines says A, others, Venus says 1, others, is it correct? So yeah, it is correct, right? We did this, right? We did this just right now. Okay, so other test, right? Yeah, and in brackets, priority is equal to 2, right? Or priority 1, 2, right? Whatever number you want to provide. Okay, that is correct, right? So this one is correct. So let's check it, right? Perfect, absolutely fine, right? Perfect, awesome, awesome. Okay, now let's come to an exercise, right? Let's come to an exercise and we create an API test. Okay, so now we'll create another test and now we'll actually write some logic inside the test. Okay, and we'll try to do API testing. Okay, API testing is, you all have already done API testing, right? You all have already done API testing, and which tool did you all use? Quickly tell me in the live chat, which tool did you all use to do API testing? And that was Postman, right? Binu says Postman, Ina says Postman, Susan says Postman, right? Perfect, right? Perfect, exactly, right? So you all have done Postman, you all have used Postman to do API testing. Now, same thing, right? Same thing we'll be doing over here, but using Java. Okay, so using Java and using coding, right? You're trying to do the API test. Okay, same thing. Okay. So now, until now, we have been exploring TestNG framework, learning how to some of its features. Okay, but now we'll try to add another library. Okay, that is the REST assured library. Okay, so this REST assured library helps us in writing API tests and in making that request, right? When you did it in Postman, you must have entered the URL of the API and you clicked on, let's say, get or post, right? And you click on send, okay, to get a request. So here, that thing will be done by this library called REST assured. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to write the code again, right? Nothing of that sort. It's already been done by people, okay? And they have provided the library called REST assured, right? That's the library, okay? Anytime you want to do API testing, you do REST assured, okay? So now, first what we'll do, right? First thing we will do is create a new class, right? First thing you do is create a new class and we'll call it as API test. Okay, so what I want you now, again, follow along, right? Follow along. What I want you to do is go back to your Eclipse, right? Let's go back to the Eclipse and here in our project Explorer. Okay, so this is our package, right? Seventh test demo is our package inside which we created the file fake test.java. Now again, right click on the package, right? Right click on the package and go to new and click on class, right? We are creating a new class. Okay, so create a new class and name this as, let's say, API test, right? API tests, okay, with S, okay, API test. Okay, so you can name it as API test and click on finish, right? As soon as you click on finish, you will see on the left hand side inside your package, now you have API test.java also and your fake test.java also, right? So you have two classes now. Okay, one is API test and one is fake test, right? And inside API test, right? Inside API test, we will write some code. Okay, but before that, create this, right? Create this class and quickly give me a thumbs up, right, if you have created this so far. Create it and give me a thumbs up if it's done, right? Binu gives a thumbs up, Ines gives a thumbs up, Theodora gives a thumbs up, Vivi gives a thumbs up, right? Perfect, awesome, awesome. Valentina says done, right? Perfect, perfect, excellent, excellent. Susan says somehow lost fake test.java, right? Yeah, great question, right? Susan, great questions. You've not lost it, right? So there'll be tabs over here, right? So as many files as you open, they keep coming over here, like in your browser, right? In your browser, you have different tabs. So you see, this is fake test.java. You can click on this. You can always come back to your file. Okay. Beside this, you'll see the new file API test.java is open, right? So you can always click on that. Okay. And if you don't need a particular file, you can close it, right? This will close it. Okay. You want to open it again, just double click from here. This is your Explorer, right? Project Explorer. I double click fake test.java. See, it opens over here on the right hand side. Now on the left hand side, I have this. Somewhat similar to how you have your tabs in your Chrome browser, right? Or in any other browser, you have your tabs. Okay, so you can close a tab, you can open it again. So like that. Okay, is it coming again, Susan? Is it now there? Okay, so now again we create a simple test, right? So you have to create the test function. So let's start with this, right? So create this test function, public void API status check, and use at the rate test, right? So a simple function, okay? Create this function, public void API status check, and open the curly brace, close the curly brace, and annotate it as at the rate test. Okay, so create a function, public void API status check, annotate as at the rate test, and do that part, right? Do that part. Resolve this error, right? Resolve this error of red squiggly line, right? Should not come. And give me a thumbs up if you come this far, right? After resolving this, I'm not resolving it right now, but resolve it. Okay. Susan has shared a screenshot. Let me see. No, Susan, somehow your file is not there. Did you not save it, or where did you actually save it? Seraphim is saying right click on the seventh test demo, but I think it's already open, right? It's already open. Uh, It should be here, right? It should be here, Susan. It should be here. For some reason, I think then you've not saved it, right? It's not saved and you closed it, right? For some reason, you've closed it, you've not saved it. You can try to do edit and undo, right? Undo and see whether it comes back or not. Susan says, I saved it several times, right? Yeah, Susan says can't hold, right? Yeah, yeah. My best guess is, Susan, my best guess is then it's saved somewhere else, right? In some other folder. Maybe while right clicking, you're not actually right clicked on this one, right? Not in this package. Maybe let's say if I right click on this resources here and I click on new and I click a class here, right? So that will be saved here. If I say, let's say fake test, right? So then what happens is if I save this, you see it comes inside resources, right? So and if this is closed, then you'll not see that. Okay. So my best guess is that you have saved it somewhere else, right? Not in the package. Okay. So you can check that, right? You can check that. And yeah, Seraphim is there, right? Seraphim is there to help you out. All right. Okay. Okay, so moving forward, right? We created this public void API status check, right? Function is there. You open bracket curly brace, you close the curly brace. At the rate test is annotated. You hover over it and import the test to resolve your red squiggly line. All right. Okay. Quickly give me a thumbs up, right? If you've reached so far, created the new class and have this other test in place with the function API status check. If that's in place, quickly give me a thumbs up in the live chat. Perfect, right? Theodora gives a thumbs up. Binu gives a thumbs up, right? Awesome. Susan gives a thumbs up, right? Great, perfect, perfect, right? Valentin says done, right? Awesome, awesome. Okay. Now let's move forward, right? Let's add some code, right? Let's add some code. Okay, let me add this code. Okay. Now there are two lines of code, right? There are two lines of code. I'll tell you about them. Don't worry. Okay. So the first line, okay. Uh, uh, Look at the second line first, right? Look at this line. Okay, look at this line. Okay, and let me just remove this. Now, what is the second line doing? What is the second line doing? Second line is doing nothing, right? Just system.out.println, and it says the API status is this, right? And what actually is the status? It is not showing that. Just says system.out.println and just saying the API status is. Okay. So nothing complicated over here, right? This line should not be an issue. Okay. This line should not be an issue. All right. So now we come to the first line, right? Look at the first line. Here we say, look at this part, right? Look at the right hand side. Okay, look at the right hand side part. So the equal to sign is the middle, and what is on the left hand side of the equal to and what is on the right hand side of the equal to. Okay, so right now I'm concerned about what is on the right hand side of the equal to. Just focus on what is on the right hand side of the equal to. All right. So what is it written here? It says rest assured dot get. Okay, rest assured dot get, and inside inverted commas it has a particular URL. Okay, so this is the same as how you did in your Postman, right? You entered a URL. So this is the URL, https colon double slash request.in slash API slash users question mark page equal to 2, right? This is my URL, okay? The URL on which I want to do API testing, okay? And to do the get, right? So this is the get method. Okay, this is the get function. Okay, where am I using it on? I'm using it on rest assured. Okay, so rest assured dot get, right? Now, what is this rest assured? This rest assured is showing you a red underline. Why? Because Java says, what is this rest assured? I don't know. You have not told me what is this rest assured, right? You have not told me about this library. Java in this file, right? In this particular file, anywhere in this file, do you see we have told Java anything about rest assured? No, right? We've not told anything about it. So it gives a red line. Okay. Now, if you hover over this, right, you can see it will give you some quick fixes, right? Gives you some quick fixes, but that's not sufficient, right? That's not sufficient. Why? Because we need to add a library, right? We need to add the rest assured library. Okay. Now, how do you add that library? How do you add that library? For that, you have a file called pom.xml. Okay. You have this file called pom.xml. And if you double click on this, you will see some details over here, right? Now, what are the details over here? These are in an XML file, right? So it's pom.xml. Look at the extension. It's not a .java file. It's a .xml file. What is the meaning of XML? XML is it's a markup language, right? It's a markup language which gives you values, right? Like this, right? Just gives you tags. Okay, what are tags? Like this is a tag. This version, right? Version you see here. Let me add some spaces. Okay, so you see version. So this tag is a version tag. Where does it end? It ends over here, right? So the version is starting over here in this tag. This tag is ending over here. Between that, whatever you write, that is the value for that tag, right? So this is the value. Okay, model version is this, right? Group ID is what we did in the starting, right? In the beginning, the group ID that we had set, right? So this is where all the things come into the picture, right? So your group ID is here. Okay, your artifact ID that you had set, that is this. Okay, these are the values. So you just have tags and your values, right? So something like this. Okay, you can have my tag. Okay, and you see this closing, right? Closing is with this backslash, right? Backslash means closing. Okay, so like this, you can't have any arbitrary tags. There are some things that Java knows, right? So only those tags will come. Okay, but I'm just writing to show you, right? This is how you open a tag. Now you close a tag. Okay, so somewhat similar to HTML. If you've done HTML, you have HTML tags. So if anyone knows HTML, so it's very similar to that. Okay, so that is what XML is, right? It's just for data, right? It's just the data that version is this value, right? Artifact ID is this value. Okay, group ID is this value, right? Model version is this value, right? It's just the data. Okay, nothing more. Okay, now we need to add our library over here. So for that, what you do, you need to add some dependency. You need to tell Java that we have some dependencies, right? And you need to add that dependency. How do you do that? You do the with adding these tags. Okay, first what do you do? First you add this tag dependency, right? Let me do it one by one. So you add these tags dependencies. Okay, so we add these tags dependencies. Okay, so in Java, what will we doing? We want to add some dependencies. That means what? That this project, right? This project is dependent on some other libraries. Okay, what are those libraries? That we'll add over here inside this. Okay, here we will add the dependencies. Okay, so our dependency tag opens here, dependency tags closes here. Okay, now within this, we will add in our dependencies. What are our dependencies? So we add the dependency over here. Let me see. This one, right? This is our dependency. Okay, this entire thing is our dependency. What is this? Now let me write it over here. 1 second, let me just make it neat. Right, yeah. Okay, so inside this dependencies are starting here, dependencies are ending over here. Inside that, what do we have? We have dependency number one, that is this. Okay, you see here we have dependency IES. Here this is dependency, so this is dependency number one. What is this dependency number one? It has this group ID, it has this artifact ID, it has this version, and this has the scope, right? That within the test. All right, so like this you can keep adding multiple dependencies. You can add another dependency. Okay, some other library, if you want to add, you can add another dependency. Okay, so I'm just showing you for an example. Okay, so you see this is the dependencies opening here, closing over here. Inside this we have two dependencies. This is dependency number one, this is dependency number two, right? So these two dependencies are there, right? Now at the moment we are just concerned about one dependency, right? And that is your rest assured. Okay, so just need to copy this, right? And paste this over here. This is your dependency. You can take this from your lesson, right? This is provided to you, the entire code is provided to you of the dependencies. If you want this, right, scroll down to step number 4, right? Look at step number 4, and from this you can take this entire thing, dependencies to dependencies. Take this entire part, right? That is what you need to add in your pum.xml file, but make sure it's there in the before project, right? Before you close the project, add these dependencies. All right, so go back, open your this lesson, right? Open your lesson. You can take it from there, or it can be added over here, right? Ina says, can you post the code in the chat so that we don't have to go through the tabs, right? Absolutely, right? Absolutely, I can post it. Oh, Valentina has already posted, right? Thank you, Valentina. Thank you so much. Valentina has posted the code in the chat because I have a different device for the chat. So yeah, Valentina has posted the exact code, right? Thank you, Valentina. And so yeah, it's there, right? So you can take it from there, right? Copy it from there. And that's this dependencies, right? This entire thing, and make sure you add it before the project is closing. Don't do that. You've added this dependencies after the project is closed, right? So don't do this mistake, right? That after the project is closed, then you're adding the dependencies. No, that's not the case. Okay, the dependencies are inside the project. This is my project and dependencies are inside this. Okay, and while you're at it, right, see if it gives you any red squiggly lines or not, right? What you see is one thing you might see some in some cases it might come is in the first line, right? In line number one, you scroll to the right, right? Scroll to the extreme right and see if this part, right? This part is red underlined or not. Okay. This part, maven.apache.org, right? This part is red underlined for you or not. If it is red underlined, just hover over it and you'll see an option called force download, right? Because if your system configuration is not allowing external downloads, then you need to hover over it and you need to click on force download. Okay, if that is the case. Okay, and same thing here, right? If in your dependency any red squiggly line comes up, just hover over it and click on force download. All right, so do that and give me a thumbs up if you are able to save the pom.xml file with the dependencies. Okay, just add the dependency and save the file and give me a thumbs up, right, if that is done. Theodore says it is right. When he says, okay, gone now, forcing, right? Perfect, right? Perfect, perfect. Theodore says, oh, well, Valentin already shared the screenshot, right? Okay, perfect, right? Perfect. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, perfect. Done, right? Jackson says done, right? Perfect, perfect. Awesome, awesome. Others, done. So then gives a thumbs up, right? Perfect, right? Perfect. Excellent, excellent. All right. Okay. So once you have added this dependency, right? Once you've added this dependency, what it does is here in your Maven dependency, if you open this, right? If you open this Maven dependencies, you see now rest assured has come here, right? This rest assured.jar. Jar files are basically a collection of all your Java code, right? So you can open this and you can see, right? It's all these packages. So this is a package, right? Inside this you have your Java files. This is another package. Inside this you have Java files. See, rest assured has now been added to our project. Okay, so inside Maven dependencies, we have the rest assured added to our project, right? That is what we needed, right? So now we can go back to our code, right? Now we can go back to our code, API test. Now you see, I still have this red squiggly line. Why do I still have this red squiggly line? Anyone tell me why do I still have this red squiggly line? I've added the dependency, right? If you open this Maven dependency, you can see rest assured is over here. So why is still Java telling me there's something wrong over here? Why is Java still telling me something wrong over here? When I have added this dependency, I can see it here, right? This rest assured 5.4.0, right? It's still there, okay? Venus is not important happened, right? We not import, right? I think you meant to say not import, right? Yeah. Jixing import, right? Absolutely, right? Absolutely correct. Binu Jixing, that is absolutely correct, right? 100% correct. Just adding it to your project does not mean it's added to your file, right? Two different things. One thing, you've added it to your project, right? So it's now part of my project, okay? But now which file is actually going to use it? That file has to write some code to use it, right? Just being part of the project does not mean it's part of this file, right? So now this has this red squiggly line. Now if you hover over this, right? Now if I hover over this, now you see this, it gives me this option, import rest assured from what? io.rest assured. So make sure you're importing it from rest assured only, right? Import io.rest assured. You click on this import statement and you see I get this import statement automatically, import io.rest assured.rest assured. So you're importing this and my red squiggly line goes away. Okay, same thing for this response, right? This response that you see, just hover over this response and see you have two different imports, right? Make sure you're importing from rest assured. Don't import from some other place, right? Because these are fixes provided by Java, right? So Eclipse is providing these fixes. Okay, always import from rest assured, right? So import response io.restassured.response. Import this and you'll see your red squiggly lines have gone. Okay. Valentis, is any issue on this, or is it just because we have just part of the exercise code? Let me see. Let me look at the screenshot. No, that yellow line, right? That yellow line, that's fine, right? That's fine. That's fine, Valentina, that's fine, right? Because we have not used it yet, right? Because we've not used it yet. So the yellow line is actually a warning, right? Whenever you have yellow lines, those are warnings, okay? And what is the warning this ID is telling you? So if you hover over this, it'll tell you at the beginning, right? At the beginning, it gives you the value over here, right? The value of the local variable response is not used. That means what? We have created this, right? We have created this variable called response. I'll talk more about it, but we've not used it, right? We've not used it yet. Okay, so that's why it's giving you an warning. Okay, Jixin says I don't have the import option. Okay, Jixin, what does it show you? What is it showing for you? Share a screenshot, right? Share a screenshot. What does it show you? Susan says create class and such. Did you save your pom.xml file? Did you save the pom.xml file? Susan says, I don't have it either, right? Susan, did you save your pm.xml file? Because if you don't, you have to come here to Maven dependency and you need to check whether this is there in your Maven dependency or not. This rest assured should be there in your dependency. If that is not there, then Java will not give you this instruction. Okay. Valentina says maybe they talk about the warning. Susan says it is there. Susan says I cannot import when hovering over response. Susan, can you share a screenshot, right? Can you share a screenshot? And Seraphim, can you please look into what issue Susan is facing? Valentina says it's what you just explained, right? Uh, Yeah, see, if you're getting this yellow line, that's fine, right? You're getting this yellow line, that's fine. You should not have the red line. Okay, so let me remove this again, right? Let's remove this again and show you. Okay, let me remove this import statements again, and let's see this, right? You see this over here? This is the red line, right? This is the red line, and you hover over this, and this is where your import should come, right? Import rest assured from io.rest assured. Okay, and here also same thing, the response, right? You hover over this, you say import io.rest assured. Okay, these are the things you should see. So I cannot take a screenshot of the menu which opens when hovering, right? Valentina, I think they're talking about this error, right? They're talking about the error, right? They're not talking about the yellow warning, right? They're not talking about the warning. They were not able to see this import rest assured, right? And from the beginning. Valentina says they talk about the warning. Okay, Valentina, are you so sure, right? Okay, just to confirm, right? Just to confirm, Susan and who didn't have it? Jixing, right? Susan and Jixing. You all are not talking about the yellow line, right? You all are talking about the red line. Okay, this red line under rest assured and red line under response. The Jixing says red line, right? I'm sure. See, Susan says response with the red line, right? So yeah, see, Valentina, they're talking about the red line, right? They're talking about the red line, not about the yellow line, right? Yeah. Okay, Valentina, no worries, right? No worries. Okay. So yeah, so this red line, right? And Susan, you're not able to share the screenshot, and you have checked your rest assured is here. All right. Okay, okay. Susan, what options does it show you, right? Does it show you these other options? Create class rest assured, create this, right? Does it show you all this? Uh, Jackson says there is no Maven dependencies on the project. No, no, no. If there is no Maven dependencies, then you did not create a Maven project, right? Then you did not create a Maven project, because when you do file and you do new and you do a project, right? When we were doing initially, when no, when you create this project, right? When you create this project, you have to choose this Maven project initially, right? And when you click on next, simple archetype selection, right? So maybe you have missed out on that part and it's not a Maven project. Okay. So in that case, right? In that case, you'll not have the Maven dependencies if it's not a Maven project, right? So you need a Maven project for that. Okay. So, okay, maybe we'll see, right? We'll see if in the end we get more time to debug this, right? Let's see if we get more time to debug this. Or let's take a break here, right? Let's take a break here. And meanwhile, Susan, you can try to share some screenshots, right? Try to send some screenshots. Otherwise, it's difficult to debug, right? How do we debug? And show me a pane of this, right? This Project Explorer. Show me this Project Explorer pane and your code, right? Or you can, if screenshot is not possible, just copy the entire code, right? Copy your entire code and paste it in the chat, right? Paste in the chat, and let's see we can, if we'll try to debug it. Okay, Susan and Jixin will try to debug during the break, while everyone else have a break, right? Let's have a 10-minute break whilst we'll debug this for Susan and Jixin. All right. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. And quickly tell me, right, Susan and Jixin, was it resolved or still having the same issue? What is the current status? And give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen again. Susan, Jixin, was it resolved? Okay, so if I'm assuming, right, I'm assuming it was not resolved, right? A couple of things that I could come up with is one, check your pom.xml, right? That maybe while adding the dependency, look at the pom.xml, right? While adding the dependency, you have not changed any of the initial parts, right? The model version, group ID, artifact ID version. Don't change any of these, right? Maybe you're copying from the Codio, right? The lesson in Codio, and you've copied the entire pom.xml. Don't do that, right? You don't have to change the initial values. Okay, just add this dependencies, and this dependencies also have to be added in your project, right? So before the project ends, okay, you should have something like this: dependencies ending, and then dependency one closing. Inside that, group ID, artifact ID, version, and scope. Okay, these things should be there. All right. And so if this is there, if this is in place and you've not modified the above part or anything else above it, second thing you can do is you can right click on your project, right? So this is your project, right click on it, and you can come to Maven over here, and you can click on update project. Okay, so this will try to update the project and try to fix any internal issues if that there have come. All right, so that right. Okay, I see Susan says, Valentina helped me in the break and it works now. Perfect. Awesome, right? Awesome. Well done. Well done. And thank you, Valentina. Great job. Great. Awesome. Okay. And Jixing, how about you, right? Jixing, was it resolved? And Susan, maybe you all, Valentina, Susan, you all can help Jixing as well, right? Because he had the same issue. Valentine says deleted the file and created again, right? Awesome, right? Yeah, yeah. Sometimes these internal issues, these bugs happen, right? So you see, even Eclipse is not free of bugs, right? You see that? So some internal issues, right? Yeah, sometimes happens, right? When it's an old Windows trick, right? Yeah, yeah. I remember that, right? I remember that sometimes. That's the best solution. Great, awesome, right? Awesome. Okay, so it says then I could import this, right? We deleted the existing API test, created again, and then you could do that, right? Awesome, right? Great, excellent, right? Well done. All right, perfect, right? Perfect. And Jackson said, I will try the old trick, right? Okay, awesome, right? Jackson, try that, right? Try that. We'll wait for you, right? We'll wait for you for 1 minute, right? I want everyone to be on the same page, right? Jackson, we are waiting for you for 1 minute, right? And you have the entire code, okay? You have this piece of code, so it's not a big piece of code, right? It's already there shared in chat. Maybe Seraphim, you can share this part again, right? This entire class and this function again in the live chat so that Jixing can easily just copy paste. So just right click, create a new file again, API test or maybe API test 2. Just remove this and add it again. Okay, Jixing, I'll wait for you, right? I'll wait for you. I'll wait for 1 minute, right? I'll wait for 1 minute. I want everyone to be on the same page. Okay, meanwhile, I will just import this, right? You see, this red lines is here for me. So I hover over this right now. I want to import this rest assured, right? So I click on this and my import rest assured is come in the file. And same thing for response, right? So response is also coming from rest assured. I will import this as well. Okay. And this yellow line, don't worry about the yellow line because that's just a warning, right? Warning means you have declared this variable. It's something like this. You do int x equal to 5, right? And you don't use it. You see, I get a yellow line over here also. What is this yellow line for? That you have declared a variable, right? So Java is telling you, Eclipse is actually telling you that, okay, you've declared a variable, but you're not using it. So what is the point? Might as well remove this. Okay, that is what Eclipse is telling you, that you've declared this, but you're not using it. But if I use it, right, for example, let's say I say int y is equal to x plus 2, right? Now you see that yellow line has gone with x. That yellow line has gone. Why? Because I'm using it over here. Now new line comes for y because I'm not using y. Okay. So that is the only issue with the yellow line. So don't worry about it because we've not used the response yet, right? I will use it over here in the second line to display, right? Because right now we are not displaying the response. So we'll use it over here to display it. Okay, right? So Jackson says, okay, right, go, perfect, right? So Jackson is also with us, right? Awesome. All right, okay. So now see, now look at this. The right hand side of this equal to is doing what? It is saying rest assured, right? The library that we have import dot get, right? So it's like it's getting this particular website, right? So the API, you're sending a get request to this website. Okay, so it's the same thing like you did in Postman, right? You entered the URL in the input field and you clicked on send, right? Exactly same thing you're doing over here, but using code, right? So you're saying rest assured.get, right? So now you see how simple is it for you, right? So now you can imagine from your initial class of object oriented programming when we created, let's say, student s1, right? You created a student s1, okay, and equal to new student, right? You created that object and then you said s1 dot display info or something, right? Display info or display results, right? We had some function like this. Okay, you created a function, okay, which was there in the student class. You did s1 dot display results, right? So this function earlier we had created ourselves because we had created the student class, everything was created by us. But now this rest assured has not been created by us, someone else has already created and we're just using it. So all we need to do is rest assured dot get, right? All we're doing is calling this function rest assured dot get. What is the function? You're saying rest assured dot get, right? So you can see these functions we have, right? Get and within the parentheses, right? Within the parentheses is the input that you need to provide to the function. Okay, so here is where your URL comes, right? Which URL you want to fetch. If you say google.com, it will fetch you the details of google.com, right? If you say facebook.com, it will fetch you details of facebook.com. Okay, so same thing you're doing here, right? Rest assured.get, and we are trying to get the API from this, right? request.in/API/users question mark page equal to 2. Okay, now once we get that, where are we trying to save it? We are trying to save it in a variable called response, right? We're trying to save it in a variable called response. Now this variable can be anything, right? I can change it to R also. Okay, the variable name can be anything x, y, z, a, b, c. What is the data type of this variable? The data type of this variable is response. Okay, so like in our initial object oriented program, we were saving the details of a student, right? So let's say student s1. This is what we did. Student s1 equal to new student, right? New student. Okay, so this new student object, right? This new student object, where did we save it? We saved it in a variable of type student. Okay, so the same thing we are doing here, right? We are creating a variable of response. Data type is what? Response. It's not integer, it's not float, it's not double. The data type of this variable R is what? The data type is response. Okay, so within that, right, within that cupboard of response, you can save this, whatever information you get from this, right? Rest assured.get, whatever response you get, you're saving it here inside R. Okay, that is what you're saving. Okay, now we want to print it, right? So we say system out of print ln, the API status is the following, right? You print it. Okay, so response.get status code. Okay, this is the function we use to print the status code. I'm not using response, I'm using a variable R, right? Why? Because I don't want you to confuse this response with this second response. The second response is the name of the variable, which can be anything. The first one is the data type, right? It's a response data type. Okay, so I do R.get status code. Again, you see, we are using a function, get status code. This will get me the status code of the response, right? So once you click on send in Postman, when you clicked on send, you saw the response at the bottom, right? Or somewhere you saw the response, the status code 200, okay, or 401, right, or 404, some response code you must have seen. Okay, so this function will get us that R.get status code. Like in your student, right, you were doing s dot let's say get results or something, right? Those functions. So here the function is what? Get status code. Now this function, you have not created this function, it's already there for you. All you have to do is you're using it. So I say R.get status code. This will get me what is the status code of doing this get request. So once I do this get request, what is the status code I get? That is what I'm displaying over here. Okay, so now if I save this, right, now if I save this and if I run this, right, let's see, let me quickly run this and look at the response, right? So you have one test and you see the API status is 401, right? API status is 401. Okay, so API status code is what? 401, right? And pass says it's API status check. It's passed because we are right now printing, right? We're just printing, so therefore it passes. Okay. Valentina says mine is 200, right? That is correct, right? Actually, Valentina, that is correct. It should be 200, right? It should be 200. I'm not sure why this is coming as 200 is actually correct, right? Let me quickly check this, right? Let's check this because this website, right, they have recently made changes, right? Request.in, they have made some changes. Let me see.
So Harshit, I think you should try again because sometimes it returns 401, sometimes 200.
Got it, got it,
Yes,
got it.
don't
Thank you,
worry.
Seraphim. But maybe I think let's run it again, right? Yeah, let's try it again. Okay, let's run it again. Let's see. Okay, but I think they will have a limit, right? This website has because I have run this too many times, right? I've run this too many times, like in the browser as well. So maybe they have some limit, right? They have added some limit, and for me, they'll not allow, right? So even if you do it 5, 6 times, right, then you might see 401, right? Because this website request.in has been making some changes of late, right? Like within the last 1 week, okay, they have been making updates and making changes here. Okay, so yeah, so with the same URL, right? If my URL is correct, right, and I don't see any issues with the URL, so it might be because I've done it multiple times, right? I've done it multiple times already. So therefore it is limiting me, right? Because it limits for the APIs, right? It limit for the IP address, right? So for my IP address, they know I have already done it so many times. So then they limit it. Okay. So, but yeah, if you're getting 200, right, that's absolutely perfect, right? 200 is absolutely perfect. Because first I got 401, but in second time I got 200, right? Okay. Bino says, right. So maybe let me try once more, right? I have tried this 5 times, still showing me 401, right? Okay. Okay, doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter, right? So for either case, right? Either case, the point is it is getting you the status code. Okay. So for me, it's getting me 401 because it's not allowing me to access that API, right? So that means I am not allowed to access that. So that is the reason it gets 401. For you, if it's getting 200, that means they allowed you the access. So that API was working for you. All right. So that is the meaning of this, right? 401 means it was not found for me, and 200 for you is that it's perfectly fine. All right. And when you say not sure why past message is different, right? Past message is not different, right? Past says API status check. Past will always be the function name, right? So this is the name of the function. Past is the this function, right? That this function is past. API status check this function because this is the test function that we created, right? So this function is the test function that we've created. Okay. When it says minus different despite code looks the same, what does it show you, Valentina? What does it show you? Past, and after the past, what does it show you? And Binu has said, can you try user slash two? Let's see, user slash two, right? No, this will also not show, right? This will show 401. Okay, let's try this. Till 401, right? So that's 401. Okay. When this is screenshot is above past. Yeah, that's correct, right? Valentina, that is perfectly fine, right? So it is giving you in details, right? Seventh test demo dot API test, right? So it's giving you in more detailed format. That this package, right? Seven test demo package. Inside that package dot API test, right? The file is API test. Inside that dot the function API status check. This function, right? So it's showing you in a detailed hierarchical manner that this function is passed. Okay, so that's absolutely fine, right? That's absolutely fine. Okay. And 401, right? Don't worry about this 401. The point is we are trying to get the status code and we are trying to display it over here, right? Whatever it comes 200 or 401, you're trying to get the status code and you're trying to display it over here, right? Okay. And give me a thumbs up, right? If everyone is able to get the status code and they're able to display the status code so far. Either 401 or 200, both are fine, right? Both are fine. Theodora gives a thumbs up, right? Perfect, perfect. Others. Give me a thumbs up, right? Give me a thumbs up if you have so far created this API test class and this function API status check, and you were able to successfully add rest assured as import in your file, and you were able to print the status code. Okay, so give me a thumbs up. Tutor gives a thumbs up, right? Susan gives a thumbs up. Bino gives a thumbs up. Bino says, is it because it's a demo? Bino, what exactly? What demo? The website? Yes, yes, yeah. The website is, yeah, yeah. It's demo. They're trying to limit, right? They're trying to limit. Because see, they incur a cost, right? So if let's say we all are sending request over there, right, it's a cost to be incurred by them from the server has to respond back to everyone, right? And that does not come free, right? That's not free. Okay, so they have to incur the cost. Okay, so maybe large number of people were using it and it was being widely used, so they must have decided to limit the number of responses. So let's say a new person comes in, they will give them, right? You can do it 5 times, 10 times, right? They'll give them. Okay, and maybe someone who has done it a lot of times, right? They'll try to limit it for him. Okay, so that might be that's my best guess, right? That's my best guess. Okay, but yeah. All right. Okay, Binu gives a thumbs up, Susan gives a thumbs up, right? Perfect, perfect. All right, awesome, awesome. Okay, so let's move ahead, right? So let's move ahead. Okay, so this is our 2 lines of code to do an API request, right? To get an API request and to print the status code. All right, now let's move ahead. Okay, look at this refactoring API test, right? Is my Codio visible? Is the refactoring API test Codio part visible? I don't think the Codio part is visible. Just quickly tell me in the live chat, is the Codio visible?
No, it's not, Harshit. I can't see your
It's not
code
visible,
yet.
right? Okay, one second. Let me reshare the screen. Let me share the screen again. Now it should be visible, right? Now let me know
Yes.
if it's visible. Perfect, right? Awesome. Okay, thank you, Raya. Yeah, okay. So now see code refactoring, right? So that was a simple test of API, right? You did an API test and you made a GET request and you got the response, you displayed the result. Okay, and you were still getting passed because why? Because the ultimate statement is you're printing, right? You're printing a piece of text. What is that piece of text? That the API status is following 401200, whatever it is. So you're just printing that. Okay, so therefore it is passing because that statement runs successfully. Okay, now we'll do some refactoring, right? What is code refactoring? Code refactoring is the process of improving the internal structure, readability, and maintainability of a software code base without altering its external behavior or functionality. Okay, so now we'll change, right? We'll just rearrange our code, which will not affect the output, right? So it will not affect the output, and externally nothing will look different. Okay, so to a person who is looking at it externally and just looking at the output, he or she will not find anything, any difference, right? After refactoring. Okay, but internally there will be some changes, right? Internally we'll try to make our code more readable, right? More maintainable and much better, right? So much better. Okay, why is that? Because see, there are several hard coded values here, right? The point is that there are several hard coded values here. What is a hard coded value? See, this is a hard coded value. This https.get, right? This particular piece of URL, right? This piece of URL is hard coded. What is the meaning of hard coded? That you have added a value exactly over here, right? Now, if tomorrow, right, or after a few minutes, right, if I want to do an API test on some other URL, right, or some other URL, right, you all must have done different APIs, okay, like let's say 5 APIs, 5 different APIs, okay. So then what will I have to do? I'll have to come here and manually change this, right? That is not a good approach. That's never a good approach. What is a good approach is to always use a variable over here, right? Use a variable over here, and that variable should contain the value of your URL. Whichever URL or the API you want to test, that variable should contain the value. And here .get should have that variable over here. All right. So that is the first thing that we'll do, right? So that is your hard coded. So we will try to shift our data to a separate function, right? And that function will be the data provider function as we did last time. Okay, as I told you about the data provider annotation last time, right? That is a separate function. So what we'll do, we'll separate it out the data. Okay, so what we do over here, right? Let me come back to Eclipse and over here, let's create this another function, right? And the name of this function is what? Name of the function is public string API addresses. Okay, the string is what? The string is an array. Tell me quickly, tell me in the live chat, what is the string array, right? What is the string array? What does this mean? What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning? I'm saying public string array API addresses instead of saying public void API addresses. This is a new function, right? Name of my function is API addresses, but I say public string array. Valentina says have a list of string Correct, Valentina, that is correct. Bino says return type is string array, right? Absolutely, right? Spot on, Bino, that is spot on. Ines says list API addresses, right? Yes, Ines, correct, right? So it will return, right? It is returning, okay? So this thing here, right? Instead of void, if I have a string array, that means it will return me back an array of strings. This function, right? This function, whatever I do inside this function, it will return me back an array of strings. Okay, what am I doing here inside this function? I create an array of strings. So here I'm saying string arrays, and what is the name of my array? APIs. Okay, I'm creating an array called APIs, and I say new string 3. That means what? There will be 3 values in my array APIs. Okay, so I'm creating an array APIs which will contain 3 values. Okay, where are the 3 values? APIs 0, right? At location 0. At location 0, what is the value? The value is slash API slash users question mark page equal to 2. Okay. At location 1, what is the value? Slash API slash users slash 2. Okay. And at API location 2, you have slash API slash unknown slash 2. Okay. So this array is what we are trying to return. What are we returning? We are returning APIs. APIs is this array which is having 3 values. One value at location 0, one value at location 1, one value at location 2. So now we have 3 different values. Okay. And now I'm annotating this as @data provider, right? Because it's a data provider function. This will provide data to some other function. All right. Again, it gives you a red squiggly line. So hover over it and click on import data provider because that is what you need, right? This annotation. Okay. So now this is the data provider. Okay. But this is providing data to which function? It's providing data to my API status check, right? It's providing data to this particular function. All right. Okay. Now here what we do, let me quickly go back to this, right? Here we make some changes, and what you do here is this, right? Let me take the whole function, right? So the changes that we make over here, you can take it from this particular lesson, right? You can take this entire function from the lesson, and you can work on this, right? So now we have changed this, right? What changes we have made here? Look at this. Inside the function, you still have 2 lines. Okay, inside the function, you still have these 2 lines. All right, now look at the outside of the function. We say @test. While saying @test, I am saying that this function has a data provider. Some other function will provide data to this function. And what is the name of that function? Name of that function is API addresses. So whichever function has the name API addresses, that function will give data to this function. Okay, which function has the name API addresses? Here at line number 15, you see this is the function. This is the function API addresses, which is providing us data. What data it is providing? It is providing an array of strings with these 3 values. Okay, let me look at the live chat. Valentina says, do you remove API status check? No, Valentina. No. So public void API status check is over here, right? Public void API status check is over here. Just above this, where you had @test, right? Where you had @test within the bracket, right? Within your round bracket, you just say data provider D small P capital. Data provider is equal to, within quotations, you see the name of the function. What is the name of the function? API addresses. This function is what is going to provide me data. So that is the name of the function I provide here, API addresses. All right. And it says thanks, right? Perfect. Okay. One more addition you need to do is within this, right? API status check here, you add the string address. Okay. String address, because once this data provider gives me value, right? Gives me data, it will give me data one by one. So this first value will come to me first, right? And it goes over here address. So you have to receive it. Okay. So within this, you add a string address within the parameters. Okay. Well, it says my eyes are pretty tired at this time, especially because Eclipse is not very friendly. Don't worry, Valentina, right? You can always go back. See, these are not something that you are expected to get in the first go, right? You need to practice it once, twice, thrice, right? So you need to do it again. So always feel free to go back to the recording, right? To go back to the recording and go through this again, right? Go through all the process again. All right. So here the changes that I made is what? One, I added this data provider is equal to API addresses. So I said this API addresses function, this function is the data provider, which will give data to my, which function? Public void API status check to this function. Okay. And where will the data come? It will come here, string address, right? It will come inside this address. Okay, so now you see here, right, in rest assured.get, what do I do here? Rest assured.get is equal to a base URL plus this address. Okay, now base URL is what? I will create a separate string. I'll create a separate string called base URL. Let me get it from here. See, you have the separate string called base URL. I'll quickly tell you why we have segregated this out like this. Okay, because see, earlier, what was your API? See, earlier your API was something like this. HTTP request.in. So your API was this, right? Request.in slash API slash users. This was your API. Okay, this was the API that we did, and we ran the test, right? So this is the API that we ran the test for. Okay, now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to segregate this out. This part I'm segregating out, and this part I'm segregating out. Why? Because this part is my base, right? It's like the base URL, and the second part, this part might change. It might be slash API slash users, it might be slash API slash unknown slash this slash whatever, right? So second part might change, but this base, right, this base URL domain request.in will stay constant because that does not change. So this part, right, this part I will save it in a variable called base URL. So I say base URL is equal to what? HTTPS slash request.in, right? That's my base URL. Okay. Now after that, what I do, I've created the additional, the other part, right? The second part in three different APIs, right? So it's in three different forms, right? So I want to use this first part slash API slash this. So I'll just add this over here, and that becomes my API. This is my API. If you merge, if you concatenate both of those, that becomes your API. Okay. And if you take the second one, right, when you do with the second one, you just remove this last part. You just remove this last part, and instead you add the second one. When you're working with the second data, you just add this over here, and this becomes your new API. Okay. So basically what you're doing base URL plus this one, okay, or base URL plus this one, or base URL plus the third one, right? That is what is creating your full API. So base URL plus this one is giving you the first API, base URL plus the second one is giving you the second API, base URL plus this third one is giving you the third API. All right, so now look at here, right? What is happening? I'm saying the data provider is what? This API addresses is giving me the second half of my API, right? It's giving me the second half of the URL. Okay. And so that is coming here in the address. Okay. So it gives me one by one. It's not like that this entire array is thrown at this function at once. You don't get the entire array at once. Okay. You get it one by one. So initially, first, what value does my address get? My address gets the first value of this first one, slash API slash users question mark page equal to 2. That's the first value that my address gets. Okay. With that, what do? I add the base URL. So I say base URL plus that address part. So base URL is request.in plus that address part. That makes my API. And I'm doing the dot get on that entire full concatenated API. Okay. And the second part, the remaining logic is the same. Does that make sense, right? Does that make sense? Uh, is it clear, right? Is it clear? Give me a thumbs up if that is clear or not. Let me look at the live chat. When it says not case sensitive, which part, Valentina, which is not case sensitive? Base URL, see, base URL is a variable, right? Base URL is a variable. Okay. What you've highlighted, right? Rest assured.get. If this part, right? This part you're saying rest assured.get, yes, this is case sensitive, right? It R and A has to be capital. Okay. In green, okay, the D, right? D. Yeah, this has to be small, right? Yeah, great catch, Valentina, great catch, right? Yeah, this D has to be small, right? This D has to be small. I didn't see that green was very, very light, right? Okay. So yeah, yes, this D has to be small, right? Yeah, you have to be careful of this. If I make this as capital, right, it'll give me an error, right? You see, I automatically get an error over here because Java will not understand that what it is, right? Java will not understand that. Okay. So this has to be small, right? Yeah. And initially you might think that how will I know this? But twice, thrice, 4, 5 times you do it, you will get the practice, right? You'll know where the D is capital, where the D is small, right? So yeah, it's designed like this, right? So yeah. Okay, so the point is we have this base URL, right? We have this base URL, and our data provider is giving the second part of the API one by one. It's giving it to us one by one. Okay, so first it will give us this part, and we'll concatenate it here, right? Base URL plus the address, right? So initially address is this. Base URL plus that will give us our first API. Then base URL plus address will become this. Then that API, that's the second API. And for each of these API, the test is run. Okay, so basically you are running the same test. So you're not changing the logic. You're not changing your logic. You're running the same test for 3 different API values. For 3 different API values, you're running the same test logic. So the point for refactoring, right? Why did we refactor is so that our data is segregated out and our logic is separate. So this function is providing us the logic, what logic we need to do, and this function is providing us the data. Okay, tomorrow if you want to add hundreds of more APIs, you can simply do it, right? You can say APIs and you can say 3, right? APIs 3 is equal to what other part you need to add, right? You can keep adding. So your data is separated here inside this function. So you can keep adding, right? And you didn't have to change the logic. You don't need to change the logic. And now if we run this, right? Now let's look at this. Let's run this and see. Now you'll see we have 3 tests, right? Instead of 1, you will not see 1 test. You'll see 3 tests, okay? And you see API status 401, 401, 401 for 3 different tests, okay? And it says passed, right? Passed. Why passing? Because we are just printing, right? Right now I'm just doing printing. So it's not dot print ln, okay? I'm not comparing. I'm not comparing the value 401 with anything, okay? I'm just printing. So it's passing. Okay. The point to note here is that I am getting 3 different tests, right? So 3 different test cases were done. Okay. And you get 3 different passes. Okay. Even though you just have one test function. See, I don't have any other test function. I just have one test function, but you are getting 3 different passes, right? Why? Because now we ran for each different value. For this one once, for this one the second time, and this one third time. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if that is clear, and if not, just let me know. Susan says, so when it is an annotation as a data provider, it is with capital D. When it's not an annotation, then small d. Exactly, right? Susan, absolutely correct, right? Absolutely correct, right? When it's an annotation, D and P are capital, right? That's an annotation, okay? And when you're using it, right? You're using it, you're telling this test function that, hey, you have some data provider, right? Who will provide you data? That is this function API addresses, okay? So then the D is small, right? That D is small because this is not an annotation here. Here the annotation is at the rate test, right? This is the annotation, okay? And inside this you are saying, right, that you have a data provider which is equal to API addresses, right? That function is your data provider, okay? And when you want to annotate some function as data provider, then D is capital. All right? Does it make sense, right? Does it make sense? Valentina says question mark, right? Valentina, what's the question mark, right? This is perfect, right? It's perfectly fine, right? Perfectly fine. API status 200, 200, and 401 passed, right? Past message looks so bad, right? Yeah, don't worry about it, right? Don't worry about it, right? I'll show you a better one also, right? Or you can look at this one also, right? Valentina, you can look at this one also. Here also you'll see the same, this, right? API status check, this has passed, this has passed. These green tick marks will give you that. You have a summary also over here, right? So you can look at this tab also, right? That also works. All right. Okay. Okay, right? Valentina says better, right? Perfect, perfect, awesome, awesome, right? Others, is this clear, right? Is this clear? Let me move to the next part, right? Yeah. Okay. So does the alteration, right? Does the refactoring make sense, right? Why exactly did we refactor? Because earlier, what did we have? We had just this, right? We had this part, right? Get, and you had hard coded the API here, right? So only for this API it was working. If I have hundreds of different APIs, I cannot create the automated script to have this values changed. So what I wanted to do is remove this hard coding here and add a variable over here. And what was that variable? That variable that I added over here is base URL plus the address. So base URL is what? Base URL is http request.in. And the second part is the addresses that is coming from my function API addresses. This is the second part it's coming. Okay. So one by one that addresses will come and I will make my get request on these APIs. Does that make sense, right? I'll just wait for 1 minute, right? Let me see, right? Let me see any questions, or is that clear? Give me a thumbs up, right? If so far it's clear, right? If the concept of refactoring is clear, right? If you're not able to exactly do it, don't worry. But the concept of refactoring should be clear. Why did we go for refactoring, right? That should be clear because earlier you had a hard coded here, right? You had, let's say if I just do google.com over here, right? Google.com over here, right? Then this is hard coded. Tomorrow I want to change it to facebook.com or google.com slash user slash 2, right? I cannot change it, right? I cannot change. I have to manually come here, manually change this, which is not a good approach. So better approach is to have a variable over here. Variable is what? Concatenation of 2 values, base URL plus address. Base URL is declared constant over here, request.in, and address is coming from here, right? One by one, it's coming from here. That makes your API, and then you make your API call. All right. Okay. Let's move forward, right? Let's move forward. And this is your data driven, right? That's your data driven API. That's your data provider, right? Like we discussed last time also, that was your data provider. You annotate it as data provider and you fetch data from there. Okay. Now additional refactoring, right? Let's do some more refactoring. Okay. What more refactoring we'll do? Menu says removes code duplication, improves test coverage, separates test data from test logic, reusability, scalability, supports parameter, cleaner reporting, right? Absolutely, right? Absolutely perfect, right? Absolutely perfect. Bino, that is 100% correct, right? That is 100% correct. Okay. Let me see if did I miss a knowledge check here? No, right? All right, perfect. Okay, additional refactoring, right? Now the last part that we'll do is, see, right now you're just getting pass, 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 right? That does not make sense because whatever you do, you're getting a pass, right? Then when do we fail, right? What is the point of the test, right? Is it passing, failing? What is happening? Okay, right now you're getting a pass. Why? Because this last line, right? The last line is you're just printing, okay? And that will obviously work, right? Because Java will print it out. Whatever you say inside, it'll just print it, okay? And that is a pass, right? Because it prints it, okay? But now we want to change it, right? We want to change it. And what we'll do is we will take the status code and we'll not display it, right? We don't want to display the status code. Instead, we will take the status code. Let me first take the status code, right? Let's just save the status code in a particular variable, right? So what we do now is we create a variable, right? I create a variable int and actual status, right? Name of the variable is actual status. Variable is of type integer, okay? And I say response.get status code. So earlier you saw I was printing it over here, response.get status code. I was printing it over here, but now I'll not print it, right? I'll not print it, right? I'll remove the statement, right? I'll not print it, okay? I'm getting the status code, right? I'm getting the status code. I'm saving it in a variable called actual status, right? So that variable has my value of whatever code I've got, right? So that is in my variable actual status. I've saved that. Okay. Now what I'll do, right? Now I'll make a test, right? Now you have something known as assert. Okay. So assert is something, assertions, right? Assertions are simply compare the expected outcome of a test versus the actual outcome. Okay. So this assertion is an actual test that you compare two things. Okay. Like look at here. I say assert, right? Assert is again provided to you from your TestNG, right? TestNG gives you assert, right? So like it gives you the annotations, it gives you assert also. Initially, it will give you a red squiggly line. You hover over it and you can import, right? You just import assert and now you've got assert. Okay, so you can use this. What is assert doing? You say assert.assert equals. Okay, so you're comparing two values. So you're telling, right, compare two values. If they are equal, then you pass. If they're not equal, then you fail. Okay, so I'm saying assert.assert equals, right? Whether the two things are equal or not. Which two things I'm providing inside my parentheses. So this is quantity number one, comma, quantity number two. So you're comparing these two quantities. Quantity number one is what? On the left hand side of the comma, that is this actual status. What is the actual status? What I got from the response, right? That actual status. That I'm comparing with what? Comma, I'm comparing it with 200. Okay. So actual status I'm comparing with 200. Okay. If both of them are equal, then you pass. If both of them are not equal, then you fail, right? That is what we are telling this test. Okay. So now we are not doing a simple print statement, right? Now we are not at the simple print statement. We are using assert and we say assert.assert equals and we compare the actual status that we've got, right? What is the actual status coming from here? Response.get status code. You got the actual status code. You're saving it here in actual status. You're comparing that with whether it is equal to 200 or not. Okay. And since we saw mine was coming as 401, right? So it's not 200. So mine should fail, right? Mine should fail. So these tests will fail. Okay. So now let's save this, right? Let's save this and let's run. Okay. Let's run. Okay. So let's run this and see. There you go, right? Now you say test run one and failures are three, right? So three tests have failed. Okay. So now you scroll here, right? You scroll to the top, you can see this first one has failed, right? First one has failed. Why? Because expected 200, but found 401. So I got 401, right? And expectation was 200. So this is how you can write your codes, right? For example, if this code is already created, right? Now, if I have added a new API or the developers have made some changes, okay, you run this piece of code, right? You run your test and you can instantly see that these APIs are not having 200 status code. So therefore something is wrong. So if some developers have made some changes, then you can prepare your report and you can tell them that, look, this is mismatch over here, right? Earlier it was working fine, but now it's not working fine because we are not getting a 200 status code. Okay, and instead, if you want to compare with a 401, right? So let's, if say if I compare with a 401, right? Let's say if we want a 401, right? I want a 401. So I'm saying whether the actual status that I get, is that equal to 401 or not, right? I save this, and if I run this, right, then you'll see that all three will pass, right? Because I was getting 401, right? So now you see I'll get all passes. Okay, so you see all three have passed, right? See, this has passed, this has passed, this has passed. Why? Because my actual status code is equal to 401, right? And my expected is 401. Okay, Seraphim has raised hand, right? Yes, Seraphim, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, I just want to make an addition about this API because like request API was updated like I think it was last year, and nowadays in order to test we need to use like an API key. So we can also add to this project, and also for example there's like another code we can associate with rest assured get, and just to make sure that your request is going to avoid any interruption um, with the with this API. Yesterday night, I was working on this. I was studying about like this hands-on, and I also have the code here. I can also help you with this part. Just make sure it's gonna work with 200 codes. Yeah, because the only additions I made were like this one. I created another, I'm gonna share here in the chat. Like I created another variable to be the API key, and I am using like the request free API. You just add it uh, under base URL, like this part, and the other part is just for the response. For example, you just can just, I'm just going to provide this one to you here. Just make sure. So okay, let me just do this here. Okay, so like for the response, you just can add this code like given relaxed HTTPS validation header, and for the header you add the value, because the value with the API key, and at the end you use like the base URL plus the address, because it's going to ignore like SSL certificate issues. So if you do this, actually, if you do this, it's gonna work with 200, I guess.
Okay, okay, so let's, yeah, okay, okay, let me yeah, let's do that
So
because I think
yes,
we've
yeah.
already ended this, right? So yeah, that was the last part, right? So yeah, yeah, we can look at that, right? Look, we can look at that, but I did not add all those because it adds more complexities and to the situation, right? But yeah, okay, let's do that, right? Yeah, let me quickly open Slack over here, right? And take your this, and okay, so let's take this, right? And don't worry if you all don't understand what this part of the code does, right? Don't worry about that. It's, see, API keys are something which help uh, the owner, right? The owner to say that, okay, this person is the person who is registered with us, right? So they give a key, okay? They give a key, and that's unique to you, right? So they give a unique key to you. All right. And let's just add this. Okay, is this fine, Seraphim? Everything added or something amiss?
I think everything is okay. So you also like added like the variable, like the attribute, right? The API key. So I think everything is okay now. So you can run just in case to make it. I think 200 is gonna work now, I guess.
Yeah, now it should fail, right? Yeah, now it should fail because I'm expecting 401
Oh, okay,
and
okay, okay. Yes, for
yeah,
sure, yes. So
yeah,
it failed, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
you
yeah,
add
perfect, right?
200 now, it's gonna work.
Yeah, yeah, it's coming 200, right? Yeah, it's coming 200. Okay, now let's run this, right? Let's run this. Now it'll pass, right? Now it'll pass for 200, right? So perfect,
Oh
right?
yes,
Great.
all
Thank you,
of them
Seraphim.
pass.
Okay,
And
thank you. That
about
was
that
wonderful.
code, don't worry about that, because when you are working, you see like these codes, and you don't need to understand a lot about it because there's like documentation for it. But that's it. Sorry for interrupting.
No, great point, right? Great input, Sir FM. Thank you so much, right? Yeah, and every have some headers included, okay, and in that you can add some keys. Like here we're adding a key. Okay, now what is this API key? This API key is actually given from the website itself, right? So let's say Amazon is my website, right? Now if you want to make API request to my website, you have to first register with me and I will give you a proper key. Okay, and it will be a mix of numbers and alphabets, right? So that'll be a unique key to you, which you don't share it with anyone. Okay, and based on that, I can bill you. Why? Because when you send me a request, you send me that key, right? You send me that key along with it, so that I know who is asking for that request, right? And based on if you make 1,000 requests a month, so based on that, I can bill you, right? And if someone else is sending some other API key, right? And if they make only 10 requests, so then I'll bill them for 10 requests, right? So that's the idea of adding API keys, right? So each user has the unique API key. They send in the API key and they get the response, right? So that is what the complexity has been added over here, right? Just the header, right? This is the header, and you have the API key over here. The API key is declared over here, right? Request slash free slash dash v1, right? So this is a free API key, right? For provided by the website. So if you want the 200, if you want to use the website, you have to use this API key, which is provided for free. Okay, but generally websites, what they do is they provide you an API key, a unique API key, for payment purposes. Okay, and the free versions are generally free, but this website has made some changes recently, right? As Seraphim pointed out, and they have started using this API key for the free version also. All right, so that's the point, right? That's the point. And now you see this actual status and 200. You can compare both of these, and if you run this, right, you saw we got three pass, right? All three are passing. Why? Because 200 is what we're expecting, and that is the actual status, right? So tomorrow, if you want to add more, let's say 5 more APIs, the team decides to create new APIs. So you can keep adding over here, right? You can keep adding over here, right? 3, 4, 5, 6. You can keep adding it over there. And if one of them is failing, right? So now from your test, right? Now from your test, you can quickly see which one is passing, which one is failing. Okay, if anyone is failing, one particular API is failing, then you can pinpoint that out, right? And you can tell the developer that this API 3, right, this particular API is failing, right? And they can then cross check that. All right, so that's the point, right? That's the point. And I just wanted to show you one more thing, right? One more thing is, if you look at this folder, right, this new folder is there, right? Test output. Okay, test output folder is also here, and this also shows you the test results, right? It'll give you a report. Okay, like for example, look at this email label report.html, right? You can right click on this, and you can open this in a web browser, right? Open this in a web browser, and you can see this report, right? You can see the entire report of what your test has, what happened in your test, right? This 3 had passed, what is the time it took, right, in milliseconds, and what is your default suit, and what happened in each test, right? This is the details of each test, what happened in that, right? So this is a emailable report, right? If you want to email it to a team member or to developers or anyone, it's an emailable report, right? Same thing here, right? You have some PNGs also, and other things are also here. So this is the output where you get your reports. All right, and same thing here, you have this another tab, right, from TestNG, which also shows you all the tests, the failed tests, and the summary, right? Gives you all the report. All right, so that is it, right? That is it for today. But do make sure to go back and practice. Do this again, right? Get your hands dirty. The more you practice, the better it is, right? And Seraphim is always there with you all. So anytime, feel free to book a session with them. You get stuck anywhere, but do practice, right? Do go through it and do practice. All right. So with that, I'll stop here, right? Thank you all for joining, and